A service starts now with Sean Marash.
I will punch you in your stupid face, and I hate the Knicks. I hate their fans.
And Pat Boyle.
That's probably why I'm not a GM in the NFL, but if I was, I would probably take a huge swing on Michael Penix.
Turning your faith into fortune.
Few things in the gambling world I can't wait to bet more than the Jets under right now.
While serving up hot cakes and hot takes.
If Chet Holmgren was on that team, he's probably putting up better numbers than Wemby.
It's BetQL 5-Star Weekend, presented by BetMGM.
How the heck are you, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, everyone and anyone? I don't know why I'm opening the show that way, but I am. I'm Sean Morash. He's Pat Boyle. It is BetQL's 5-Star Weekend. Twitch.tv/BetQL is where you could watch us. We are presented by BetMGM. And this is the final 5-Star Weekend before we get a college football game that counts, beginning with Georgia Tech and Florida State on Saturday. What is up, Patty Boyle? How are you?
SATURDAY. Hey, SATURDAY. Hey, that's what we'll be screaming come Saturday morning, 6 days away from now, Shawnee, when we get a top 10 college, not just college football. We get week 0. We get a top 10 football team. Who knows if they'll be there at the end of the season with DJ Uiagalelei and Mike Norvell and all the departures that the Florida State Seminoles experienced last year and got robbed not getting into the college football playoff. But the 10th-ranked Florida State Seminoles taking on Georgia Tech in my homeland, Shawnee, in good old Dublin, Ireland. So that'll be noon. And then we've got 3 games that, honestly, if you put them in any other week, I wouldn't give a rat's ass about. But week 0, we'll be here to play. We'll be there to play the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, plus a couple of other games. But for now, we got NFL preseason that's rolling on today with 2 more games tonight, primetime games. I mean, the NFL schedule has done such a phenomenal job, Roger Goodell, with getting interest in these preseason games because they've been slotting them all throughout the day on Saturday, a Thursday night. We didn't get a Friday night this week, but week 1 preseason, we got Friday night. And then yesterday, 13 games from noon all the way to 10 p.m. Eastern kickoff time. It was glorious. It was beautiful. I just watched, I was doing an update shift at our station in New York, but basically was just watching preseason football all damn day. I mean, it was heaven. So I'm doing great. We got 2 more games today. We're inching closer to the final stretch of the baseball season. And we've only got a couple weeks here left, Shawnee. So I'm cherishing every last moment with you for this summer season.
Yeah, we have this and 2 more. And then BetQL will shift to their fall programming, which will be tremendous, as it always is. Obviously, big BetQL news this week, the departure of Ken Barkley from You Better You Bet. And on August 26th, the new version of You Better You Bet will launch. And I know Nick Costos is going to do a great job. And let's just clap it up for Ken Barkley before we get into our show as well. I mean, he's really just a pillar and a huge part of BetQL. The Stones that talk the talk and give you bets. And I love the shifts I got to work with Ken about a year or so ago before my career kind of shifted and I was doing some local stuff in Afternoon Drive. It's one thing to sit here like us, blabbering idiots, and give you our best bets and everything. It's another to go, honey, this is the dream. I'm just going to gamble for a living. God bless his wife, too. Disagree?
No, I do not. I'm not married, but I know that if I was married, I probably would be quickly unmarried if I made that decision. But Ken, look, there's not many people better suited for it. And I don't know Ken personally like you do, but just having watched you listen, You Better You Bet over the last couple of years here, seeing his stuff, there's not many people better suited to do it than Ken. So I just love how he was like such a stone cold assassin just on the air. He goes, yeah, this is the dream. I'm going to do it. And that's that. Hey, good luck, man.
Good luck. And minimal sweats is right for Ken Barkley. All right. We have some bets to give you throughout the show. We have Dingbat as well later on, which we need confirmation on if Kenny was a universal loser, because I gave you 2 winners last week. Patty Boyle gave you a winner. So if Kenny didn't hit a single home run, he's been ducking and hiding. We need to figure out a punishment. Hopefully it's not his belly button talking, and we'll figure that out. We have a Sunday Scary. Oh, Kenny hit a home run last week with Austin Riley. Somebody double check that. We have a Sunday Scary that I'm going to warn you right now is not about bets today. I'm going to give you 5 NFL futures I've parlayed together, something I'm very interested in. Plus, I'm sure there's some kind of tennis bet that Pat Boyle's going to cook up throughout the show as well. So let's get it started here.
And soccer.
Let's get it started here with a hot takes and hot cakes.
Good morning, people. Boy, do I need some hot takes and hot cakes. Pat Boyle and Sean Marash, give it to them.
So obviously I'm in NFL futures mode. I started last week's show telling you Bears under 8.5. And more thoughts on the Bears later as I continue to watch Hard Knocks and watch the Chicago Bears cook a little bit as well. I'm going to give you another under here to start the show. Patty, to me, the most interesting division in football will be the team that Hard Knocks in-season features, and that's the AFC North. It's hard to find a really bad football team, but somebody will have to finish last.
Wait a minute, aren't the Bears are in the NFC North?
I know. I said last week I started the show with a Bears take. More on them later. I gave an under last week on the Bears. I'm setting up my new under.
Oh, that's my mistake. That's my mistake.
Boy, way to kill the flow. Okay, last week I gave you Bears under 8.5 to start the show. I have some more thoughts on the Bears later. To me, they're on Hard Knocks right now. There's a Hard Knocks in season with the AFC North, which I consider the most interesting division in football. Somebody in the AFC North has to finish in last place. Last year, it was the Cincinnati Bengals based on the fact that Joe Burrow had gotten hurt and they kind of petered out. I'm doing it, man. And it's funny that the juice is laid this way at minus 144. I think Mike Tomlin is going to have his first losing year as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am taking the under 8.5. I've placed the bet this morning. I've locked it up. Think about this for a second, because I think Tomlin is a great head coach. I mean, I love my head coach, Brian Daboll in New York. Mike Tomlin is maybe, I don't even know if I could say about Andy Reid because of age, maybe the only guy I would trade my head coach for right now. Like, that's how much I trust Mike Tomlin. That being said, we kind of now have just gotten so used to, and understandably so, just saying he never has losing years. He never has losing years. That's fine. It also doesn't mean it has to be a 3 or 4 win year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what I've seen through the preseason, again, preseason is always extremely vanilla, the play calling and everything. One thing that you cannot fix just by saying, hey, I find a way to get the most out of guys we have winning years. One thing that is undeniable that can sink a team is bad offensive line play. So while Justin Fields and now Russell Wilson, who's suddenly back after an injury, continue to trade off their struggles, the biggest reason that first-team offense in Pittsburgh has struggled through 2 preseason games, 5 sacks allowed, including 3 on yesterday's game. I think the Steelers are going to be in trouble. I think that offensive line is going to cause them to just not be the same old. And I think just because Kenny Pickett is gone and Mason Rudolph's gone, you're expecting that quarterback room to be a little better. Well, don't look now. The offensive line is in complete shambles. I am on the under 8.5, and then I throw in the fact that the division is so tough. I mean, if Burrow's healthy, how am I not into the Bengals and the Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson train combined with Baltimore? And look, I think Cleveland, Stefanski's a good head coach. Who knows with Deshaun Watson? They're going to have a good defense. I'm not even sure how sold I am on the Browns one way or another, but man, somebody is going to inevitably win 7 games and finish in last place in that division. I think it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm on the under 8.5. My hot cake for hour number 1. It is juice minus 144, but that's fine. I think Tomlin's having a losing year here, Pat.
Yeah, and the thing that would exacerbate that for me, Shawnee, is if he decides to go with Russell Wilson at quarterback, which I think would be an ultimate disaster, because I've said it numerous times before. I think Russ is cooked. Do not let him cook. And I think Justin Fields just offers so much more upside. And Justin Fields came in yesterday in the second half and injected some life into that Steelers offense, because they didn't do much of anything with Russ. And we saw it's going to be the same exact thing we saw with Russ in Denver last year, whereas the numbers don't look horrible on the surface. right? I mean, his completion percentage was great. He barely threw any interceptions in the first couple of weeks, but like you looked at the Denver Broncos, you're like, this isn't a good team. This isn't a good offense. They don't score points. And it was the same thing yesterday with Russell Wilson, 8 for 10 for 47 yards. He completed 8 passes for 47 yards because he can't throw the football down the field accurately or with any kind of power anymore. He can't drive the ball down the field. He can't drive the ball into the deep parts of the defensive zone or give guys a chance to win some one-on-one battles, 20, 25 yards down the field. So it's all just dink and dunk, little West Coast offense, take care of the ball, don't turn the ball over. But again, the biggest thing that has changed for Russ is his mobility. He doesn't have any. And he took 3 sacks last night. Again, I know that's part of the offensive line having as much struggles as they're going to have, which is what you hit on there, Shawnee. But Justin Fields comes in and he's making things happen with his feet. He runs a nice little 20-yard scamper, 8 carries for 42 yards. He goes 11 of 17 for 92 yards through the air. And still, the Steelers only scored 3 points. Again, it's preseason football. We understand that. That's the precursor to any argument we're having about play we've seen is that it is preseason football. But knowing what we know about Russell Wilson the last 2 years, knowing what I know and knowing what I think, is just that if Mike Tomlin goes the safe route and says, you know what, let's start with Russ. Let's go with the safe quarterback here. It's a disaster. You're wasting 4, 5, 6, 7, however many games you start Russ for, you're wasting that in your season where we know with the Steelers, it comes down to week 18 or in the past, week 17, every single year for them. And if they don't get off to a hot start, I mean, I got news flash. Like you said, it's probably the toughest division in football or the most balanced division in football. And some of their softest spots on the schedule reside in the first 6 weeks of the season. So I agree with you. Under 8.5, it is juiced, but this to me will hinge whether or not I'm actually going to place this. And when I officially do place my over-unders after the last preseason games of the year next week, the Steelers under, for me, heavily depends on who's playing quarterback. If it's Russell Wilson, I'm pounding the under. If it's Justin Fields, I might reconsider. But either way, It doesn't look good for the Steelers.
I don't disagree. I'm not even the biggest Fields guy at this point. And I have a feeling that one of the 3 big quarterbacks and more on the college football season to come that are in this draft is going to be on the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. Come hell or high water, as they like to say. All right, what do you got, Patty?
I have a feeling that Mike Tomlin is going to go with Russell Wilson, and then when he does get inevitably benched, we're going to be saying just in time to play the field.
I like that.
How about that? Mine did I just get signed out of here? This Google Doc. All right, whatever. I remember what the take was, but I remember what the take is, and that is, the way I've been playing these preseason games, Shawnee. I don't know about you. Patty's been making some nice coin betting preseason unders here. Yeah.
Have you? Okay.
For games, and here's my strategy. I'm going to lay it out there. And I'm not saying like I'm reinventing the wheel or like I'm some, genius, but it's worked this year. This is my first real year that I'm actually investing in preseason football. I don't think I've ever bet more than 2 preseason games in a season before this. So again, the data is a little recency biased, if you will, but ask any other guy, ask Nick in terms of what the strategy is. Me and Rob Brown, who filled in a couple of times on You Better You Bet last week, we're pounding unders, we're pounding nails. If it's a game where no starters are playing, then I think the pregame under is the safer play there. For example, Jets Panthers, I think it finished at 31.5 last night. And that I saw it a couple of days ago at 34.5. It's just like you knew there was going to be no offense in that game with Andrew Peasley playing quarterback for the Jets and Jack Plummer playing for the Panthers. So like that is one where you want to hammer the pregame. Same thing with what me and Rob did on Thursday night. Eagles Patriots, the pregame was 33.5, which had come down 3 points because there was supposed to be a lot of rain in New England. Even that's with and no Eagles offensive starters were playing. We kind of got the quarterback layoff for what the Patriots are going to go with. So we pounded the pregame under. If there's a game where the starters are going to play, for example, yesterday, Daniel Jones made his preseason debut with the Giants. C.J. Stroud played for the Texans. That pregame under for Giants-Texans, I want to say was 35.5. And if you give me 5 seconds here, I will pull it up. 39.5. So it's actually a little bit higher. It's one of the highest preseason totals I've seen. It finishes under that, but even then, you got 27 points or 24 points in the first half. The sportsbook algorithms, from what I've seen, they're not like they're smart, obviously, but they're not, I think, accounting for the starters then coming out of the game after the first quarter, especially after the first half. So what I've been doing is, and again, I know it's tough to watch or follow every single game. So as kind of just a general rule of thumb for the games tonight and the final games next week, where there's probably not going to be a lot of starters anyway, but especially going forward in preseason, just keep this nugget in your mind. You see the starting quarterbacks come out, you see the offensive starters come out, and if you can't follow closely at halftime, whatever the live under is, just bet it. Just bet it, because everything we know about preseason football is exaggerated once the starters come out of the game. And then you're seeing backup third-string offensive players versus third-string defensive players. It's much harder to execute on the offensive side of the football. So that's kind of been my strategy. We can get a little bit more into it as we go on here, Shawnee, but I'll turn it back to you.
I like it. I like it a lot. And 2 more of those games coming up. When we come back, though, we are 13 days away. Well, even less than that when you consider the Thursday night games from full week 1 college football. What are the best games? We discuss next.
BetQL 5-Star Weekend will be back on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most
Baseball is winning on the BetQL Network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double plays, props, and parlays.
Not only Blue Jays run line here, Cody, I might tease it up to an alternate run line of -2.5.
Join the chaos every Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern.
Can you explain to me how these are the same odds? Can someone please explain to me how these are the same odds?
Exactly what I was
I've looked at this over and over and over again.
On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Baseball is winning on the BetQL Network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double plays, props, and parlays.
Not only Blue Jays run line here, Cody, I might tease it up to an alternate run line of -2.5.
Join the chaos every Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern.
Can you explain to me how these are the same odds? Can someone please explain to me how these are the same odds?
Exactly what I was
I've
gonna
looked at
say.
this over and over and over again.
On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your
Welcome back to BetQL 5-Star Weekend on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
BetQL's 5-Star Weekend is here. How's everybody doing? I'm doing good. A little relaxed, a little calmness to me. I don't know. A little zen, as they say, Pat Boyle. A little zen.
It's all right. I'll figure out a way to ruffle those feathers before too long here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, how does my voice sound, by the way, everybody? Twitch.tv/BetQL. I was at a concert and didn't get home until 1:30 in the morning. So I got to be honest with you. I thought the pipes are going to be a little more rusty than they are, but I think I like where I'm at. I do.
I think you sound good. I mean, you're like Russell Wilson, though. You haven't tried to launch any deep balls yet. You haven't tried to drive the ball down the field. So it's been a lot of screens. I haven't seen you go higher than like a 6. So we'll see. That jury's still out.
And I'm also about to embark on, before we get into the best games of the college football weekend, my last little, I guess a rendezvous, a little trip before the sports radio calendar flips to full-blown football season. And Pat, you know this. It ends up being poor us, right? Oh, man, your season's busy because you got to talk football. But no, you're not really supposed to take off a lot of the time. And, for me, with the Giants playing on Thanksgiving, I'm not even really going to get a Thanksgiving Black Friday situation off here. I'm heading to Lake George in upstate New York with my kids. That also was not a vacation, because when you bring 2 screaming kids in a basically Toyota Highlander up I-87 and they're throwing fruit snacks at your head as you're telling them, just shut up. That is exactly not really a trip, but that's what we have going on, Pat. So this is a big week ahead for me.
Nice. That sounds like a lot of fun. It makes me really want to get married and have kids as soon as possible.
You're right. You're right. It should. It's the American dream. All right, let's look ahead. Week 1 of college football is basically upon us. I mean, week 0 is next weekend. Week 1 will follow suit. And the recap of all the Saturday games in week 1 will be our little tip the cap out. See you later. Farewell tour for BetQL's 5-Star Weekend to set us all up. But this has been a trend, certainly in the last couple of years. Week 2 is oftentimes much worse than week 1 in terms of like some sexy games. We have gotten used to like a good launching pad of college football, giving us at least a couple really juicy ones to kind of get the season going. And then like this, and now with the conference realignment and everything, it looks like by week 4, you have just jam-packed awesomeness from week 4 on in the college football season. But we are going to rank our 5 favorite games from week 1 of the college football slate. And I think Pat should give me number 5, and I'll go number 5. I usually lead, and that's just pig stuff from me. So, Pat, you go.
Sure, no problem, Shawnee. I'm happy to bat lead off and set the table for you here. Number 19, Miami in the swamp at Billy Napier's Florida Gators here to start the season. Miami is a 2.5-point favorite with an over-under of 54.5. So this is going to be a good one. This is 3:30 Eastern on the first real Saturday, 13 days away from now. And for me, it's two coaches that are, kind of firmly on the hot seat in my mind. Billy Napier feels like he's been on the hot seat since he got to Florida. Mario Cristobal, after the season that Miami had last year, expectations are now much higher. It's a definitely open ACC in the sense that it's them, Clemson, and Florida State here in what should be the three-headed race. And I just, again, it's going to be interesting to see who immediately gets their, takes a nice little lighter and puts it right under their tuchus. Whoever loses this game, that's going to be the head coach we're talking about.
Yeah.
Florida feels like they're one of the worst teams in a now stacked SEC. And it feels like this is a game that's going to come down to the wire, and it's who is going to avoid the gigantic mistake, right? I mean, we saw the absolute disaster of Miami football last year in that one game that they blew. So Billy Napier needs a great season in the worst way. They need a good start in the worst way. And again, for what's going to be an ACC crown that likely comes down to the final week or two, Mario Cristobal and Miami, whose offense looks good on paper this year. I got to be honest. I think I'm upbeat as much as I have been in recent years here. They got Oregon State's Damian Martinez, who ran like an absolute madman last year and helped out DJ Uiagalelei at Oregon State a ton. And I'm very interested to see the quarterbacking position here, because Tyler Van Dyke, he's off to Wisconsin. So now they bring in Cam Ward, right, from Washington State.
Yes.
That's Miami's quarterback now. So very interesting to see that. And again, Florida's not going to have many winnable games on the schedule once the SEC season starts. So this is one they have to have at home. It's going to be an exciting one.
So I didn't look at Pat's top five. We're pretty close. I think there's only one game different, but we are both in lockstep that this is the fifth best game of the weekend. Again, you filled that 3:30 void. You mentioned a lot about what Florida has on the line. I mean, how many years in a row, Pat, in the early season are we going to have to hear, is Miami back? What does Miami have to do to be back? Can they be back? I want to get back to Miami being back. Back. Miami's back. That was very funny. Thank you for laughing hysterically at that, Pat. With that being said,
sound like Chris Berman.
You're right. I think this is going to come down to the wire. And for me, this is going to be just I know I'm betting the game because it's going to be 3:30. I'm going to be coming off the high of the noon games. I feel like this is just going to be a strictly blind bet. Put my faith in, as you said, Florida and the schedule getting harder. Florida has to win this game. I'm going to bet Florida as the dogs here on the money line in this game and just hope for the best and assume that, the SEC, whether it's transfer portal, recruiting powers will just take over. And in fact, Miami at this point still should not be favored over any SEC team until further notice.
Yeah, I was switching between tabs there. I agree. It's going to be a testy, intense game, which for week one of college football where the offense isn't flowing, it's who's going to turn the ball over less. I'm very excited for it. I kind of wish it was like a 7:00 kick, but 3:30, I'm trying to see the games that it's going to compete against here. And in terms of the ranked games, it's the best game because you got Akron, Ohio State, which is a 50.5 point spread. And you got another game that I'm going to get to in a second here. That's also a big spread. So Miami, Florida is clear cut the best game in that window. So they're going to have millions of eyeballs on them, and we'll see who wants to lose that game less. Number 4 for me is a game that I just hinted at. And on paper, it is a blowout. Colorado State at number 4, Texas. The Longhorns 30 are 5-touchdown favorites, and over-under that's sitting right near 60. But, again, I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for Jay Norvell and the Colorado State Rams. After what they did to Deion and the Buffaloes last year, this is a frisky team that is not going to back away from a challenge here. And, I know that the roster may have flipped over. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I've been going into the too deep of Colorado State football to see which guys are coming back and, who left and whatnot. But again, everybody was saying this team was going to get annihilated by Colorado. This was before the Buffs came back to earth, getting blown up by Oregon, and they put up a fight, right? And it was testy and it was intense. So I don't expect them to go into Austin and just totally lay down the sword and get destroyed here. And I got a lot of questions about Texas football. I got questions about how legitimate of a draft prospect is Quinn Ewers. I know a lot of people think that he's going to be a top 10 pick, especially with two 2 drafted wide receivers leaving, most notably Xavier Worthy here, and now they're down 2 running backs already to start the season. I am very interested to see how Texas comes out and if they can really take care of business and pummel this Colorado State team. But that might be one in term, on the bottom of my betting list for week 1, Shawnee, that I'm going to put a couple dollars on. I think I'm taking Colorado State to cover the 35, and hopefully it goes up another point or two. But I'm intrigued to keep an eye on that game because it's going to be the same window as Miami, Florida. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, money is always to be made on those big spreads in week 1. That game I kept off the list, and this is a game you do not have on your list. Penn State at West Virginia with James Franklin's Nittany Lions laying 10 points. That's noon. That's going to be the same time as the Clemson-Georgia game, which we're going to hit on in a couple minutes. Pat, I think that this is a tricky spot for the Penn State Nittany Lions here. I'm not telling you they're not going to win the game, but this, I think, is a betting paradise game. This screams the first game of the year where a better one way or another is going to feel like they got burned. I think, and my gut tells me, you could get a backdoor cover. It just could be the hostile environment. I think West Virginia is going to find a way to cover the 10 points in this game. But I could also, see me and anybody else betting West Virginia going, oh my God, it's 35-10 in the fourth quarter. How did we not see this coming? But I just think that this is a tough spot. Going into West Virginia is going to be a very difficult spot for Penn State. And I think that this game's a little more intriguing than I think many will realize. And dare I say there's a chance at noon where your fourth quarter completely pivots your eyeballs to here if Georgia's absolutely taking care of business versus Clemson. Again, more on that in a second.
Yeah, third one for me is the Sunday night game, which, again, is going to have basically everybody's eyeballs on it. And that is USC, number 23 USC against number 13 LSU in the Modelo Vegas Kickoff Classic. So that's at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, 7:30 Eastern, Sunday night, as we're all getting set for Labor Day. And it's a nice little 3-day weekend here. LSU laying just under a touchdown, 6-point favorite, and a nice big whopping 62.5 point total in this one. Again, I have multiple questions about Lincoln Riley and, a guy that had Caleb Williams and a bunch of NFL talent last year on his staff and couldn't even, what would they win? 7 games last year, 8 games. So
yeah.
A massive disappointment. The defense has never been good. And I don't think it got much better despite what they tell. Oh, they landed this guy in the transfer portal. Oh, this USC defense looking a lot better. Yeah. Okay. I'll believe it when I see it. And they're going to have a real big test. Week 1, yes, the Jaden Daniels, the Malik Neighbors era is over in LSU. Garrett Nussmeier is the quarterback there. They've got some weapons with Kyron Lacey, and, we'll see what Josh Williams is going to do at running back here. But this just feels like, a nice good old Sunday night shootout in Vegas between two teams that I don't really buy either's legitimacy at having a chance at the college football playoff this year. LSU, again, in a very, very deep, stacked SEC. USC, again, the defense stinks, and I don't think that, Miller Moss, whatever the hell his stupid name is, is going to really do anything to push the needle for USC now here in their first season in a new conference. But, again, nice big spread, Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly, sure, it's the Sunday night standalone game, so I'm absolutely going to be in on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is going to be number 2 for me, so I don't have to wait and have my takes here. Just spoiler alert, this is number 2 for me from the standpoint of standalone Sunday night raises it, elevates it, but it's which program is in better shape mode. You know what I mean? Like the winner of this game, after all that they have lost, is going to walk out of here feeling like, okay, we are okay. The loser could already be in complete panic mode after a week 1 game. So that was number 2 for me. My number 3 is the Notre Dame Texas A&M game, which is your number 2. The Aggies laying 2.5 at home in that spot. Patty, I know that you're Mr. Irish. Look, again, I early indications tell me I'm going to bet the Irish in this spot and assume that Texas A&M has a horrible loss in this spot to start off the season. I'm in on Notre Dame this year. I think expanded playoff, the committee's going to be pigs and make sure they get him in at all costs. But I do think that Notre Dame here and this, next kind of turning over of things is going to figure it out. But that is a fun game, and it's a reason you have it so high on your list as well.
Yep, absolutely. And that not just because I'm an Irish guy, but you got 2 top 25 teams, 2 top 20 teams, 7:30 on the first Saturday night here. So it's going up against Fresno State, Michigan. It's going up against Idaho, Oregon, and Furman, Ole Miss. Again, two teams playing cupcakes. Alabama's playing Western Kentucky. So this is, good scheduling job. We've got one game that is clear cut above the rest in each of the windows. And for sure, this is the one here for the Saturday night. Notre Dame, Riley Leonard, the new quarterback at Notre Dame here. It's a defense that has multiple first 2-round draft prospects in it. This Notre Dame defense is going to blow your socks off, especially that secondary. They are a real problem. Xavier Watts is going to be one of the top safeties taken off the board. Benjamin Morrison might be the best cornerback in the country. So I'm very excited to see how they do on the road against Connor Wegman and Mike Elko, the new coach at A&M here. The 12th man's going to play a factor as much as I crush it and rip on, the 12th man. What a stupid name. It's going to be a good one, and it's going to be probably low scoring, the 46.5 total. I'm probably going to bet the under here, and I'm probably not just going to blindly bet my favorite college football team. I want to see Notre Dame take care of business here, but this paves the groundwork. If Notre Dame wins this game, it's almost impossible for me to think they don't get into the college football playoff.
All right, we're both going to tackle the number one game. Spoiler alert, it's Clemson and Georgia. And what is an enormous spread, 14 for Georgia on the other side of the break. Plus, kind of take a little peeksy at the Heisman and why at this point it feels silly to bet Dylan Gabriel. I mean, geez, everybody's betting Dylan Gabriel. We got to find some value elsewhere as Patty just shakes his head, thinking the fat guy that looks like a thumb with a beard is right, and I'm going to have to talk about it. All right. So when we come back, more on the Heisman, more on Clemson and Georgia. We're tickling the undercarriage with some college football, and another round of hot takes and hot cakes comes your way in about 25 minutes. Again, you can watch our pretty faces, twitch.tv/BetQL. It's BetQL's 5-star weekend. More when we come back next.
BetQL 5-Star Weekend will be back on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Baseball is winning on the BetQL Network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double plays, props, and parlays.
Not only Blue Jays run line here, Cody, I might tease it up to an alternate run line of -2.5.
Join the chaos every Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern.
Can you explain to me how these are the same odds? Can someone please explain to me how these are the same odds?
Exactly what I was
I've
gonna
looked at
say.
this over and over and over again.
On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Baseball is winning on the BetQL network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double plays, props, and parlays.
Not only Blue Jays run line here, Cody, I might tease it up to an alternate run line of -2.5.
Join the chaos every Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern.
Can you explain to me how these are the same odds? Can someone please explain to me how these are the same odds?
Exactly what I was
I've
gonna
looked at this
say.
over and over and over again.
On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL network, presented by BetMGM. Welcome back to BetQL 5-Star Weekend on the BetQL network, presented by BetMGM.
How's everybody doing? It's BetQL's 5-Star Weekend presented by BetMGM. He's Pat Boyle. I'm Sean Morash. Okay, big Sunday scary coming up. I'm so stoked for this. I actually saw Patty this week. I have placed a pretty insane 6-leg player prop parlay for the NFL season with insane odds. Just insane odds. And the more and more I look at it, I keep saying to myself, this is hitting. And is anybody this creative that they haven't come up with this? Because this is hitting. So you're going to get that in the final half hour of the show. We're about an hour away from a little dingbat. We gave you four home run hitters combined out of the 9 bets we gave. Okay? And we have a GTFO or oh yeah, which Amir must be working hard on because we don't have a single statement in our rundown about it yet. So obviously plenty to get into. Plenty to get into throughout the show. We did just go through our top 4 rankings of the best college football games of week 1. I say top 4 because we didn't get to number 1. And number 1 for both of us is going to be that noon game, Patty, Clemson and Georgia, which, I mean, what a tremendous gift from the football gods that we get these 2 programs and these 2 head coaches with Dabo and Kirby going at it at noon. Basically, you're going to come right off of College game day and go right into watching these 2 teams play. Now, Carson Beck, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, Heisman-wise, is going to be the main attraction, the star here of this game with Georgia. But, I mean, it is so odd to look up and see Clemson, who we are not that far removed from Clemson being just the end-all, be-all in college football, and Dabo bringing that program back, and obviously everything they did at the quarterback position from Watson to Trevor Lawrence. But here we are. How disrespectful. Clemson, 14-point underdogs in this spot, and yet I love Georgia laying the points. I think they are going to put on a little bit of a show, and I think that this game, obviously, because of the brand recognition, has to be number one. The fact that we're getting this early and not playing in prime time. But as I stated with that Penn State West Virginia game, I think there's a good chance that while we get all revved up and excited for this game, that we walk away disappointed. And I think Georgia is ultimately going to lay the wood and bark like dogs and take care of business in the fourth quarter or third quarter, and the second half just gets away from Clemson and they let go of the rope in this game. I am on Georgia laying the 14 in week one, and I think this is a game that you may even alt it up. I mean, I think you can get into 21, 24-point territory as well.
Yeah, I find it hard to disagree with you, mostly just because I feel like the Dabo Sweeney Clemson as a powerhouse football team are long gone. They're long gone, and I feel like they're kind of just getting a top 15 ranking here based off what they've done in the past, and not kind of what we think they're going to be going forward, or at least what I think they're going to be. I mean, it's a team that noticeably had major struggles last year, right? I mean, getting blown out by Duke to start the year, and then never really rising to the occasion. Now, they finished the year strong, and they upset my Notre Dame Fighting Irish after I thought they were toast and cooked coming off the heels of losing back-to-back games to Miami, North Carolina State. They showed a little life. They won their final 4 games of the year, and then they win a bowl game, which, bowl games mean nothing anymore if you're not in the playoff. But I just, an offense that struggled, a offensive line that is not nearly as good as it used to be. And again, we know Dabo Sweeney, Mr. The transfer portal is the devil, and I'm going to just recruit, and that's going to be my team year after year. It's basically the same exact team as last year for the most part. They barely made any additions in the transfer portal, and the ones that they did, I mean, they're not expected to be impact players. So I think Cade Klubnik was just kind of getting hype solely because of how disappointing DJ Uiagalelei was, and now people are kind of just hoping that Cade Klubnik is going to be good, and I don't see it. I don't see it. I saw numerous struggles with him last year in terms of being able to run the football, throwing on the run. He's not a great pure pocket passer, and they don't have a ton of weapons on offense. And it's a defense that used to be able to hang your hat on. And yeah, sure, they're going to have a really good defense at times this year, but I mean, they're going up against one of the best offensive lines in the country. Georgia can boast that every single year from the left side all the way to the right. Doesn't matter who they've lost, who they, graduated, what guys went to the NFL. They're going to be there. And then just the weapons that they possess. I don't necessarily think Carson Beck is a, supremely talented quarterback, but, he knows his role in the offense. He knew it last year. So again, being able to distribute the ball to Dominic Lovett, to Arian Smith, using his running backs, Trevor Etienne, by the way, the new addition for this Georgia offense, and the defense. It's the defense. That's I guess struggling Clemson offense that didn't really add any dynamic players going up against a Georgia defense that, again, I don't care if they get 6-7 guys drafted to the NFL every year. They restock, they retool. Nazir Stackhouse is going to be a wrecking ball in the middle. Chaz Chambliss is an absolute animal. And then in the secondary, guys like Malachi Starks, it just feels like Georgia's defense never lets Clemson get into the second gear. And this does feel like a kind of 31-10, 31-13 final score. So I'm with you, Shawnee. I love the dogs. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, and the line is talking to me, and this is probably a good time as we really hammer home football, right? I mean, we're getting back in the flux of things. We have the preseason games in the NFL going on. College football week 0 is going to be next weekend. But they're simple rules that I think whether you're a casual bettor or let's say you're more into betting the NFL than college football and vice versa, there are things we forget until it's too late into a season. You want to get hungry and get back into gambling, right? Maybe you don't bet as much baseball or the Olympic basketball didn't get you there. But that college football first weekend, and we just ranked those top 5 games, what everybody's going to do if you're listening to this show, or you're going to have people that only bet football come in and go, all right, what do we got? Who do you like here? Because everybody just wants a taste, right? And what do you see when you see 2 brands like that in Georgia laying 14 points? You see the old, what are the books begging you to do? And the books are begging anybody who hasn't paid attention to any of the roster movement and anything to go, wait, that Clemson program is getting 14 points? Oh, that's too many points. I'm going to take them. And that's your first sports books taking your money to set the tone of football season bet of the year. The line is begging you to take Clemson and wants you to think it's too many points. don't fall for the trap. Think about it. There's no better way to get up on the books than taking care of them in that noon window Eastern on that week 1 in college football and say, I'm not falling for your tricks this year. Patty and I, and some of you listening who are really, really diehard might understand and realize, oh, yeah, I mean, Georgia clearly. I mean, that's a team that is the national championship favorite right now, as you could actually see on twitch.tv/BetQL. And if you think they're the national championship favorite, well, don't fall into the trap that Clemson is getting 14 points and they're a name recognition program. No. Lay the points with Georgia. Don't look back and start bankrolling early this season. So you have plenty in that old account to work with and play with.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you there, Shawnee. I don't really have much more to add. And I just will say one thing about, again, new rosters year after year with the transfer portal. Georgia's not a team that made a ton of additions. I said the big one was bringing in Trevor Etienne to be the new running back here. But it is largely a similar team to last year in terms of the impact players outside of the guys that graduated, obviously. But I will say what was Georgia's dynamic early on in the season, right? They kind of let the bad teams hang around, right? People were questioning their merits after a close game with South Carolina at home, questioning their merits after they escaped Auburn on the road. But anytime they had to step up and play a ranked opponent, remember a lot of people, myself included, wrongly took Kentucky last year, and Georgia beat them by 38 points. Missouri, they had to battle, and it turns out Missouri's actually a really good team. They only won by 9, and then the next week against Ole Miss, can Lane Kiffin finally slay the giant, and then Georgia beat them by 35, and then they crushed Tennessee by 28. So that, on top of the motivation of not getting into the playoff last year after having just one loss, and it came down to the final couple of minutes against Alabama in the SEC championship, that's what kept them out of the college football playoff. You best believe Kirby Smart, who is one of the best motivators in the sport and in sports itself, because I remember when Georgia cruised to that national championship 2 years ago, and basically the players are like, everybody wrote us off. Nobody cared. It's like, what are you talking about? Everybody picked you to win the entire year. But Kirby Smarts obviously was telling his guys, nobody believes in you. Nobody thinks you're going to win this. So I expect this Georgia team, to be highly, highly motivated, more so than any other team in the country. And they're going to hit the ground running. They want to make a statement in week 1. And I think they're going to make a mockery of Clemson.
So Patty Boyle, one of the great motor boaters in this nation, calls Kirby Smart one of the great motivators in this nation. Okay.
See these lips? A lot of RPMs on those lips.
I see that. Real quickly on the Heisman. Dylan Gabriel, obviously, star at Oregon, is getting all the love. He's plus 700 right now to win the Heisman. And all I have heard over the last 2 weeks, Patty, as I pine through college football stuff, is how many people love Dylan Gabriel for the Heisman. And okay, shocking, he is the favorite. Spoiler alert, usually doesn't end up that way, right? Like something happens where that favorite at the beginning of the year, there's other people that emerge. I'm not going to bet Dylan Gabriel at plus 700. Now, I understand that the odds will probably only get worse for you if he has a big year. I look to the quarterbacks, and Shedeur Sanders, to me, too trendy, too picky. Carson Beck, we mentioned with Georgia. I'm circling as a team you mentioned last week with Ole Miss, how they could have a really big year, and their quarterback Jackson Dart at plus 1,200 right now to win the Heisman. Pat, that is a bet I absolutely want to place.
Yeah, I like that one as well, and I'm very intrigued by Ole Miss and by Jackson Dart this year, but the weapons he has, Lane Kiffin absolutely retooled and restocked in the transfer portal. So, again, somebody's going to have to win the award. You would think in the SEC, where the defenses are the best you'll probably see, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But, I mean, they've got some freaking weapons, man. So you're going to hear a lot of Trey Harris. You're going to hear a lot of Jordan Watkins and Jackson Dart, a guy that can get it done with his legs if needed as well. So I like that bet. I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now. Nobody that I want to officially get ready to place a ticket on for the Heisman. Maybe I will in the next 5-6 days here. But yeah, Jackson Dart and Ole Miss, I think they're worth the hype this year.
Yeah, and we'll see if Dylan Gabriel is all he's quacked up to be out in Oregon as they change conferences. Thank you very much for those who got it. They got it.
Dylan Gabriel, by the way, feels like he's just another list of like the Bo Nixes of the world. The latest Oregon quarterback to transfer in Dan Lanning's system, a ton of points, right? Nobody played defense in the Pac-12. I know they're in the Big Ten now, but it just feels like Dylan Gabriel has that, has that feel to him, if you will.
Yeah, look, duck, goose for all of those Oregon players. when it comes to a Heisman goose egg. That is. I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where we're headed. But hot takes and hot cakes are next. It's BetQL's 5-Star Weekend presented by BetMGM.
Our weekend will be back on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Baseball is winning on the BetQL network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double plays, props, and parlays.
Not only Blue Jays run line here, Cody, I might tease it up to an alternate run line of -2.5.
Join the chaos every Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern.
Can you explain to me how these are the same odds? Can someone please explain to me how these are the same odds?
Exactly what I was
I've
gonna
looked at
say.
this over and over and over again.
On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL network, presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL network, presented by BetMGM.
Baseball is winning on the BetQL network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball
With
off a
Sean Marash.
I will punch you in your stupid face, and I hate the Knicks. I hate their fans.
And Pat Boyle.
That's probably why I'm not a GM in the NFL, but if I was, I would probably take a huge swing on Michael Penix.
Turning your faith into fortune.
Few things in the gambling world I can't wait to bet more than the Jets under right now.
While serving up hot cakes and hot takes.
If Chet Holmgren was on that team, he's probably putting up better numbers than Wemby.
It's BetQL 5-Star Weekend, presented by BetMGM.
BetQL's 5-Star Weekend. Now, where am I seeing this here? Stephon Gilmore signed it. Did I miss this? Is this news? Stephon Gilmore's big deal here?
Yeah, that was either late last night or very early this morning. It was early this morning, right before we got on the air.
Signed with the Vikings, who are going to be a dog turd team all year long. But good for him. Good for him. He gets
Dog
paid.
turd team. I disagree.
Oh, do you?
I disagree.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
No, they're going to be picking
I've
top
been
5 in the
pumping-
draft. The team stinks.
I've been
Sam Darnold's
pumping
their
my
quarterback
chest.
of the year. He stinks.
He doesn't stink. I've been pumping my
He
chest
stinks.
about Minnesota and Sam Darnold overachieving this year all preseason, and you're gonna see it. I've said it before. My phrase that I've been coining is that Sam Darnold's gonna have a Geno Smith 2022 character arc type season here, rejuvenation, where he's got weapons all around him. Top 2 receiver in football, and Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. After the injury scare, seems like he'll be ready to go for Week 1. How Jordan Addison didn't even come in like the top 6 of the AP Rookie of the Year voting last year is to me, it's a disgrace. Guy had nearly 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. And then
The problem is
getting back,
Darnold stinks.
he doesn't stink. And they're getting back TJ Hawkinson anywhere between Week 3 and Week 7 of the season. Here's the thing with the Vikings. They are going to get off to a rough start. They're probably going to be 1-5 or 2-5 at best after 7 weeks because they play one of the most grueling schedules in the first half of the year. But once they once they go to the
one.
Well, they probably will. They probably will. It's a very
they
frisky bet that I'm
They're not a
probably
better
going to
team
make.
than
Your
the
quarterback
Giants. They're not beating the
stinks.
Giants.
Your quarterback stinks. Daniel Jones stinks. He
He's
threw
better
2
than Sam Darnold.
interceptions. Threw 2 interceptions in a row yesterday, including a pick 6 from
And
his
yet-
own
and
5-yard line.
And all he was, the first one was terrible. The second one was taking a deep shot. Daniel Jones looked the best he's looked in 5 years yesterday, so we're good on that. He's going to kick the
The
Vikings.
best he's looked in 5 years because he actually has.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pick 6 was terrible. The pick 6 was terrible. The second pick really wasn't that bad, and he's taking deep shots. So I can't.
How can
wait
you say
to
he's
watch
the
him
best
destroy
he's
with the
looked in
Vikings.
5 years? Let me disregard the awful pick 6 he threw right to Jalen Petrie, who jumped it,
And
and
it
then
was terrible.
he took a shot on a deep ball. But outside of those, outside of a horrible throw and 2 interceptions,
bad
he looked
throws.
the best he's looked in
Because
5 years.
preseason's about taking risks and just kind of balling it out. Other than that, I mean, he was just diming it to neighbors. That throw down the sideline to Slayton. There was some sex appeal with Daniel Jones yesterday. The Giants, I've already bet them at plus 750 to beat the Vikings by 14 or more points Week 1. It's going to happen. And they Daniel Jones poised with that defense anyway.
Do you understand the type of?
Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold
Do you
doesn't
understand?
stink. He's only been on 14 teams in 3 years, but he doesn't stink.
Do you understand the type of defense that Daniel Jones is going to see in Week 1?
Yeah, Brian
Not a great
Flores.
Ooh. Yes. Not a great defense, but a Brian Flores defense where they are going to blitz the hell out of Daniel Jones. And what do you think Daniel Jones is going to do when he's got 6 guys coming after him with an offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas that can't block me?
What are you talking about? Oh, folks, if you could hear that in the background, that's a guy who didn't watch the game yesterday because the Giants' first-team offensive line that still didn't have John and Runyon Jr. suddenly looks light years different. The Texans couldn't, with their first-team defense, touch Daniel Jones, which is why he looked so much better yesterday. I hate to tell you this, Pat.
Congratulations. The Giants
Stock
offensive
up.
line
And it
looked
doesn't
good
mean the
for
Giants are
first
going to win
time
10,
in
11
5
games.
years.
They're beating the Vikings in Week 1. And you want to tell me I'm insane for believing in Daniel Jones. You think Sam Darnold's good. He sucks. Let me tell you a little something about Sam Darnold, okay? And I should have known he was going to suck years ago. Sam Darnold came up right ahead of the draft into our studios in New York City, all right? Comes with his big head, walks around the newsroom. We were going to have him on the show. I worked on the DA show. He does. All right, so this is April. this is playoff time, okay, in the NBA and NHL. We are a show on in the morning. It is 9 a.m. on a Thursday. In the newsroom is NBA TV, okay? There was a playoff game from the night before on, and Sam Darnold, perhaps nervously, comes in. He's got the TVs on. He goes, whew, all right, what's the score? How much time's left? I looked over at a coworker of mine, Andrew Bogish at CBS Sports Radio at the time, now Infinity Sports Radio. We waited for Sam Darnold to use the bathroom, and we said, you heard what he asked, right? Yes. You heard what he asked, Sean, right? You heard? Yeah, okay. And we both realized then, this guy stinks. He doesn't even know when playoff games are. Yeah, typical Sixer game. 9 a.m. on a Thursday, Sam. Come on.
You really
He
think
has
he
no
thought there was
awareness.
a live playoff game at 9 in the morning? He's
Yes,
probably
he did.
trolling you, and you fell for it. You got trolled.
No,
Just
he
like you're
wasn't
going to get
trolling.
trolled by Sam Darnold and the Vikings in week 1.
He wasn't trolling. The man's an idiot, okay? And I think he's a good kid, but an idiot. And he's now
who's
played
also
on,
an idiot?
what are we up to? 30 teams? I mean, what are we up to here for
You know
Sam
who's
Darnold?
also
But no,
an
the
idiot?
light bulb's going to
Jameis
go off now.
There was also an idiot, Jameis Winston, and the guy threw for like 5,000 yards a couple of years ago, and he's actually had, up until the last 2 years, 3 years, had a decent NFL quarterbacking career. Sam Darnold was on the
50
Jets,
million interceptions, but okay.
who ruin every single quarterback that walks through those doors. So
totally. It was the Jets' fault that Sam Darnold stunk, okay? And
he
then when he
wasn't
went to
good.
Carolina,
I'm not saying he was great.
yeah,
And he
Christian
went to Carolina
McCaffrey in
Panthers,
Carolina couldn't do anything.
who have been a joke for the last 5 years since Cam Newton, since that Super Bowl era with Ron Rivera, and then the last couple of years they've been absolutely abysmal. Then, and actually even then, his last year in Carolina, the back half of the season, he was pretty good. Like, he was okay. Once they gave him the starting job and Baker Mayfield got benched, Sam Darnold was pretty good. The back half of his last season in Carolina. This is 2022. Look up the numbers. They won't lie to you. They won't lie to you,
Dude,
Shawnee. Look up the numbers in
this is
Carolina here.
embarrassing.
59% completion percentage, almost 1,200 yards, 7 tutties, 3 picks.
He got Matt Rule
Had a
fired. He got Matt Rule fired because he sucked. Stop that.
Matt
Hey,
Rule was
go
getting-
through the last 4 weeks. When every time he had a Wendy's Junior Bacon Cheeseburger on a Wednesday, he threw for 400 yards in a game. Pat, shut up, man. He stinks. Let it go. You know
He
what
doesn't
he is?
stink.
Now, no.
Sean's muted. Shawnee's muted. So while he attempts to unmute himself, I'm going to say that Sam Darnold went to San Francisco last year and learned the Kyle Shanahan system, got to sit behind Brock Purdy, played pretty well in that mop-up game on Christmas night, and then the last game of the year that he started, he looked pretty good. So the gods happen to mute Sean Marash because they know that I'm right here, and they know that he's wrong. And I'm not saying Sam Darnold's a great quarterback, but for the first time in his life, he's got weapons. He can be the game manager that the Vikings need him to be. He's not going to be the slinging the pill all over the place, but get the ball to Jefferson. And the plays that are designed where Jefferson will be open, which aren't going to be a ton, but Jordan Addison, if the deep ball is there over the top, I trust Sam Darnold can get it to him. Once TJ Hawkinson comes back, he's got a nice security blanket. They got a decent run game and a great left tackle in Darius on an offensive line that has been really bad in years past that has improved a little bit. So this is going to be a game that comes down to the wire, just like so many games in the NFL do in week 1. And I know Shawnee's going to be biting his fingernails, sweating. How the hell are we going to lose week 1 to Sam Darnold? Because if the Giants are a pillar of great football to start the season for the last decade, it feels like we're due for another 1-4, 1-5 start to the Giants season here. So, yes, I am buying a lot of stock in Sam Darnold and the Vikings to still be a surprise team, with or without J.J. McCarthy, because I didn't think he was that good anyway.
Oh, you got me back? Are we back now?
We
You
got
done
you,
with the
Shawnee.
preamble? Okay. Sorry. Little technical difficulties at the Shawnee compound. Pat, what happened with Sam Darnold last year is exactly what happened with Mitchell Trubisky. You go away for a year. You go with a good coach. You don't have to play. Like what happened with Mitchell Trubisky in Buffalo. Suddenly everybody starts, oh, yeah, maybe he's got a little something. Maybe he is good. And you forget how much he stunk. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. They love Sam Darnold so much, they took a chance on J.J. McCarthy, who we both hate. And now he's out for the year. You're wrong, Pat. It's all right to take an L every once in a while and just throw your hands up and go, I'm wrong. And you're not doing that. And right away in week 1, and you mentioned the hard schedule, when they lose like they will to the Giants, they are going to be like 1-6. They're going to be picking the top of the draft. By the time they get Hawkinson back, I guarantee that's somebody that they may look to move at the deadline to. This Viking team is going to crumble. But by all means, please pretend you know what you're talking about. That's good. Good for the audience.
Well, I promise you, week 1, I'm taking the Vikings, and you're going to hear. You're not going to hear the end of it from me.
And I promise you, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. All right. What do we got? Oh, we got hot takes and hot cakes.
We got to do hot takes, hot
Cat
cakes.
shuts up. Here we go.
Good morning, people. Boy, do I need some hot takes and hot cakes. Pat Boyle and Sean Marash, give it to them.
I don't know how it could get any hotter of a take than Pat Boyle telling you that Sam Darnold's going to be a great quarterback. He has a bet. I have a take. Give you a bet, Pat, because I don't know if it's going on right now.
It's not. And by the way, I never said Sam Darnold's going to be a great quarterback. I said he is going to succeed in his role as a game manager that has a ton of talent around him.
Mitchell
and a
Trubisky.
Great head.
Stop lying to the audience. He's Mitchell Trubisky. He went away for a year, and now you think he's going to be good. He stinks.
He's not as bad as Trubisky. He's not as bad. And I said about Trubisky, I don't care if he was growing on Josh Allen's ass. He was never going to be good. And he went from the 1 year in Buffalo where he got to play patty
Josh
cake.
Allen's ass. What is he, a birthmark?
I don't know. I said like he could have attached himself to Josh Allen's ass and tried to, through osmosis, get some of Josh Allen's talent and leadership and intangibles, and it was never going to work. And then he goes back to Pittsburgh, who's never been a good spot for quarterbacks since Ben Roethlisberger left, and he stunk, and he did stink. And I said about Trubisky, and I said it at the time, I don't care how many years Trubisky spends playing, Monday morning quarterback, looking at the tablet for 4 quarters every Sunday. He's never going to be good. I feel differently about Sam Darnold. So this isn't just a copy and paste take that you want it to be here. Wake up. The Vikings have an incredible offense with weapons, and they just need a quarterback that can be a pro and show up on Sunday, be prepared, know the game plan, and deliver the football where it needs to be delivered. I'm not saying they're going to be, I just told you they're probably going to start 1-5 or 2-5. That one of those wins is going to be against the Giants. And then the back half of the season, when all of a sudden you see in the hunt, in the wild card standing graphics in week 11, you say, whoa, the Vikings aren't dead yet? I thought this team was going to be dead after they lost by like 30
Nobody's
points.
Dead anymore. Nobody's dead anymore. It's so hard to be dead in the NFL. Look, bottom line is this, kiddo. Football's not for you. You have a tennis bet to give the young lads out there or what?
Football's not for me. Okay, just remember, sear this in your memory, North America, when you heard Sean say the Giants are going to beat the Vikings by 14 points in week 1 when Daniel Jones is your quarterback. When Daniel Jones is your quarterback.
Who's better than Sam Darnold?
My goodness. Somebody that is pushing Sam Darnold into the dumpster and uplifting Daniel Jones. I mean, come on.
Playoff wins. Daniel Jones versus Sam Darnold. Who has more?
He did win a playoff game, and I'm not saying Daniel Jones is a horrible quarterback, but come on,
did he beat in that playoff game?
The Vikings defense under Ed Donatel, which was the worst in football, 31st and 32nd in your points allowed and yards allowed per game. They were miserable, and you know it. Brian Flores, look, and I'm not saying the Vikings defense is good now, but Brian Flores as a coordinator is going to own Daniel Jones because he knows exactly how to beat him. And Daniel Jones coming off a torn ACL week 1 with an offensive line that's still sketchy. Oh, the Houston Texans couldn't touch him in a preseason game. They're the best offensive line in football now. They're going to get hurt. They're going to get hurt, literally and metaphorically. So, all right, I'm going to move on.
I still haven't heard
Here's your tennis bet. Semifinal day at Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Masters, the final big tune-up before the U.S. Open, which starts, by the way, in 8 days. I'll be there. Tennis bets, one-stop shop. Patty Boyle, how you doing? We got 2 blockbuster semis. Sinner versus Zverev in the men's side. Sinner, number 1 player in the world, in case you haven't heard of him. I'm going to take Sinner on the money line here. And I'm going to parlay him with the big women's semifinal blockbuster, Swiatek versus Sabalenka, number 1 versus number 3. I will just keep it short and sweet and not get you too in the weeds on tennis and say this. The court is lightning quick right now in Cincinnati, so that favors Sabalenka on the women's side. Iga Swiatek, she's great on clay, wants a slower court, does not want to get rushed. Sabalenka's beaten her 2 out of the 3 times when they play the World Tour Finals, which is like the second fastest court on the entire circuit, and Cincinnati is playing even faster than it normally does. So advantage Sabalenka. She wants to play fast. It does not favor Swiatek's game. So Sabalenka to take a set, which if you go to BetMGM, you go to handicap spreads or handicap sets, plus 1.5 sets. So in other words, she has to win at least a set here in a best-of-3 match. Sabalenka to win a set, Sinner to win the match, plus 139. So you're getting plus odds here on this tennis bet. We could talk a little bit more about that as we go on, Shawnee, but I know you got so many questions on tennis.
No, I don't have any questions at all. Good. I hope you're giving out winners. As I said, football not for you.
Oh, I do. I normally do.
I admit losses, unlike Pat Boyle. Like, I will take my L's, and I'm going to take one with my hot take and hot cake when we come back, because I do think it's only fair to the person. It's only fair to the audience, and I will expand upon it. Plus, we got to get into some MLB rule changes potentially on the table that I think are interesting and I think would obviously affect the gambling world as well. So that's kind of cute. That's kind of fun. We're also 25 minutes away from a dingbat, your best home run plays of the day. And, by the time we finish this hot takes and hot cakes, we'll probably get to the last one. So we'll see.
And just remember that, Sean, the take he's going to give you on the other side of the break, another preseason overreaction.
Okay, how about you let me do the take? How about you let me do the take?
You do.
You don't get to tease. That's not how racist. All right. Back.
BetQL 5-Star Weekend will be back on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM. Baseball is winning on the BetQL Network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double plays, props, and parlays.
Not only Blue Jays run line here, Cody, I might tease it up to an alternate run line of -2.5.
Join the chaos every Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern.
Can you explain to me how these are the same odds? Can someone please explain to me how these are the same odds?
Exactly what I was
I've looked at this over and over and over again.
On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Baseball is winning on the BetQL Network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double plays, props, and parlays.
Not only Blue Jays run line here, Cody, I might tease it up to an alternate run line of -2.5.
Join the chaos every Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern.
Can you explain to me how these are the same odds? Can someone please explain to me how these are the same odds?
Exactly what I was
I've looked at this over and over and over again.
On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Baseball is winning on the BetQL network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
And handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double plays, props, and parlays.
Not only Blue Jays run line here, Cody, I might tease it up to an alternate run line of -2.5.
Join the chaos every Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern.
Can you explain to me how these are the same odds? Can someone please?
Welcome back to BetQL 5-Star Weekend on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
It's BetQL's 5-Star Weekend presented by BetMGM. We've done a ton of college football in the first hour, a ton of NFL. I mean, you could tell the football juices are absolutely flowing here. I'm Sean Morash. He's Pat Boyle. We usually just rattle off hot takes and hot cakes, our segments at the top of every hour, and kind of go through them. Patty gave you son of a sinner in a big Cincinnati Enquirer tennis tournament bet. I did not get to my hot takes and hot cakes because Pat Boyle basically has Sam Darnold in the MVP consideration. So we had that little argument. You want to check that out?
Never said that.
Go to podcast form. I mean, you basically did. But you said it without saying it.
I literally said the Vikings will probably be 1-5 or 2-5 after 7 weeks, but Sam Darnold will keep them in the hunt because he can excel in the role he's going to be in. No stretch of the imagination that I ever say he's going to be the MVP running or that the Vikings are going to be a lock for the playoffs.
Okay. Sure. Whatever floats your boat, pal.
You're taking my take and you're stretching it to the absolute extreme. What are you doing?
Being a radio host. Now, as part of being a radio host and being a damn good one, might I add, one of the great talents in this country sitting right here talking to you. The sign of a good one is to pull back and say, I might have overreacted and I need to adjust. You should always adjust. Some might call that a flip-flopper. I don't. I call it being real. You should be able to, in this world, have an opinion on something and alter your opinion if need be as time goes on. Throughout this entire run, from February till, the next 2 weeks when the show has its, off football season ending, I have been steadfast in something and a belief of Pat Boyle too. I think, actually now, I don't want to put words in Pat's mouth. I believed that Caleb Williams will be a bust. Now, from what I've seen in the preseason and getting a little, which I think is the beauty of Hard Knocks, getting to know somebody a little bit. I want to adjust and amend. This is my hot take here in hour number 2. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be a bust. I thought he was going to be a bust. I don't. Now, before everybody overreacts and screams and goes into this, that, and the other thing, well, I'm not telling you he's going to be a star player. I'm not telling you he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is I think he is far too talented on a football field to be Jamarcus Russell, to be Zach Wilson. Insert any quarterback at the top of the draft, Ryan Leaf, that is absolutely stunk compared to what their expectations or at least their placement was. I don't think he has the talent to be that god-awful. Now, does that mean he's going to be right in the conversation where like C.J. Stroud was last year, Patrick Mahomes, obviously Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I can't say that either. He could simply end up being middle of the road where Pat Boyle and me are screaming about him in 4 years about whether he's a very good quarterback or just like an quarterback. I just don't think he will be that terrible is what I'm trying to tell you. And ultimately, I'm still on the under on the Bears win total because the one main thing that Caleb is going to have going against him is he's going to have another head coach fairly quick in his NFL career because Matt Eberflus seems like the ultimate nice guy, terrible head coach. And that has been so prevalent and so obvious through 2 episodes of HBO and Max's Hard Knocks where very people want to argue, what can you get from a TV show? What can you get from a TV show? The one thing that I think that Hard Knocks has shown us over the years, you have a pretty good idea of which head coaches stink and which head coaches don't. Whether it's Joe Philbin in Miami, whether it was Hugh Jackson and the embarrassment he was in Cleveland. I mean, you walked away knowing those guys were just not good head coaches. Frank Reich, you're like, when that in-season one with the Colts. Matt Eberflus just, by the way, nice-looking family. I'll put it that. Nice guy, not a good head coach. And I just wonder if that derails Caleb Williams somewhat this year. That's why I'm still on the under. But ultimately, Pat, I see what I see with my own 2 eyes. We talked about the painting of the nails, the crying in mommy's arms, the blowing off the press. All that stuff still exists, and you wonder how he's going to handle the lows of the NFL. But his talent's too good to be Jamarcus Russell-esque bust, which I think some had pivoted, and I think even I was leaning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to die on this hill. I'm either going to die on it or I'm going to thrive on it. Yes, I saw the dome. I saw the dime to Rome Odunze. I saw the 2 goal-to-go plays where he's scrambling around looking like, dare I say, Pat Mahomes, and then he fires a bullet into the corner, didn't count, wasn't a touchdown, and then the next play, he's, again, just dancing back there, making guys miss, making it happen with his mobility, with the elusiveness, and then runs in for the touchdown. I saw Zach Wilson make those kind of throws in his pro day. We've seen other quarterbacks scramble. We see Justin Fields do that countless times when he was the Bears quarterback, make 7 guys miss, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and then run for 30 yards, run for a touchdown. Again, I want to see him do it for a full game. And even after all the flashy highlight, plays that he made, he goes 6 of 13 for, 75 yards? Half of those coming on one throw. And then Matt Eberflus says, you know what I was really proud of Justin Fields yesterday for doing today? I was really proud of how he came out of the huddle, of his cadences, of how he handled the snaps, of just, running the offense, being a pro, a really professional day. I mean, that's what we're hyping him up about now, that he can not fumble a snap, that he knows how to call a play with his mouth, right? That he knows how to walk out of the huddle and knows where to go. I mean, come on, let's be real here. Let's be real. We can get all overhyped. And we can get carried away with a beautiful throw on the run. Yes, he did. I'm not taking anything away from that. It was a dime on the run. He's got the ability to make plays like that on the run. We saw it in week 1 of the preseason. We saw it again. And yes, he is fast enough and mobile enough to avoid, sacks in the backfield and make plays happen with his legs. But football is so much more than that, man. And when these games really start to matter in a week and a half from now, in 2 weeks, and you've got actual defensive starters on the other side of the ball for all 4 quarters, not just a 1 quarter of play here. And the Bears have to say, all right, Caleb, do it for 12 drives here. Do it for 13 drives, however many possessions. Do it on every single play. Make the right read on every single play here. I still think he's going to ultimately fail, and I think he's going to come short of expectations. And right now when it's preseason and he looks good on some highlight plays that you see on Twitter and stuff or some Instagram or TikTok reels, okay, sure, we know he's got the talent. He wouldn't have gone on number 1 overall without it. Zach Wilson also had the arm talent, right? He had the arm talent, and he ended up being one of the biggest failures in recent memory. I'm sticking to my guns. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be great. He does have the talent. Plenty of other quarterbacks have the talent. I just don't think he's going to ultimately be able to put it all together here. Despite having really good weapons around him, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, adding, was it Keenan Allen? I always get the 2 Chargers receivers. Yes, Keenan Allen.
Can you watch an episode of Hard Knocks, Pat?
Well, I know the Jets got Mike Williams, and I always mix up Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So, going to have Keenan Allen, and I still don't think it's going to be enough here.
So interesting. We can kind of reset where we are with the quarterbacks. This wasn't on the rundown, but let's just do it because we're here with Caleb Williams and we argued about Sam Darnold. JJ McCarthy's out for the year. Jaden Daniels continues to look good in spots here through 2 preseason games. Drake May, I think the Patriots are just a disaster right now. And I just wonder, because Drake May was still ultimately my favorite guy coming out of the draft, with Jaden Daniels a close number 2. I wonder if New England kind of ruins Drake May. I mean, that seems like a drastic overreaction right now. Or if he's going to be able to overcome. That's going to be a bad football team. But those guys, I was putting stock in more long-term careers than Caleb Williams. But the other guys in the first round right now, McCarthy out for the year. I got news for you. I think McCarthy's going to come back next year. We're going to kind of forget about I think I could already see where J.J. McCarthy's career is going. It's just going to be very when he comes back. You'll look back to the year 1 lost year, and it's just like, I don't know. I still just don't feel like it's going to happen for him where he's going to have some kind of brilliant career. Michael Penix is interesting. He's not going to play in the final preseason game. You're not really getting straight answers. I saw this on the rundown at the beginning, and I was almost lost to this. I hadn't been like up on the Falcons stuff. No injuries really to speak of. And is the thought process that he's almost too good in practice, that they don't want to show up in the preseason games and have all the pressure immediately? Because remember, this is a plan the Falcons seem steadfast in. Let's pay Kirk Cousins for a year, have Penix sit. And it could be for them where they don't want to have to deal with everybody pushing for Penix right away. I mean, that's kind of a weird thing going on, Pat. But sneakily, I think Penix is going to have a nice career in Atlanta.
Well, I think it tells you 2 things. The fact that he didn't play yesterday or this weekend in the preseason, and he's not going to play again. And, you heard Raheem Morris saw enough. I think that tells you that they think he's good. And that, hey, we don't need to run him out there all 3 of these games or 2 of these games. They saw enough in 1 preseason game from Michael Penix. And I as low as I am on Caleb Williams, I'm as high as Michael Penix. I think this guy can win a Super Bowl in his career. And I think it's only a matter of time before he takes over in Atlanta. I also think the decision to not play him the rest of this preseason, they're really worried about Kirk Cousins' health, and they're worried about Kirk Cousins' production, who's now, 35, 36, coming off a torn Achilles. They didn't want to take the risk. God forbid Michael Penix gets hurt in a preseason game here. And then if Kirk Cousins, if we can't rely on him either for health or for execution, if Michael Penix gets hurt, now we're down to our 3rd-string quarterback. So I think it's very telling how much Atlanta believes in him and how concerned and worried they are about Kirk Cousins going into this season.
Yeah, and then the last one that I think we just kind of wrote off, we're like, this is a ridiculous pick in the first round, was Bo Nix going to the Denver Broncos, that we went with a Bo Nix first-round pick. Felt like he had a second-round grade at least, but he's kind of looked pretty good by everybody who's been at Broncos practices, preseason alike. And Sean Payton, I think, still is a really good head coach, but it feels like we are in I guess let's call it the upside down with the Denver Broncos. Team kind of feels like they'll stink, but have a good head coach, have a quarterback none of us believed in. However, I guess this is my more confusing part. Are we just assuming crap sandwich with Bo Nix, Sean Payton, and the Denver Broncos? And are we all going to have this thing wrong where Bo Nix actually has the perfect head coach with him? We're talking about, can the Patriots ruin Drake May, right? Will Matt Eberflus be gone quickly with Caleb Williams? Have we kind of undervalued that Sean Payton might be the perfect guy to make Bo Nix a successful NFL quarterback?
Unfortunately, you might be right. And that is a take where I feel like I could be eating my words on in a couple weeks from now. Because I've trashed Sean Payton, and I'm just going to be completely honest. It's hard to be unbiased with him. I want to see him fail, right? I would like to see Sean Payton fail. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it. Sorry for the folks out there in Denver. That's how I feel, but I'm gearing up to potentially be wrong on this, because it could be not the second coming of Drew Brees. I'm not saying Bo Nix is going to have a Hall of Fame career, that I think he's that great and all, how did we miss this? But it's a very similar system. Very similar system. Sean Payton made it work with New Orleans. Bo Nix is a guy that, again, didn't push the ball down the field a ton with Oregon. He broke the record for highest completion percentage in a year in college football history because it was safe, smart throws. Exactly what Sean Payton tried to do, had Russell Wilson try to do. On top of that, you've got a young, moldable mind in Bo Nix who doesn't have an ego, right? You're hearing Packers players gush about him over their joint practices leading up to the game tonight. And again, if he can limit the turnovers, he can be Russell Wilson, but even better, than what Russell Wilson it was in Denver last year. And then the upside that he has on top of that, because we saw him do it at the college level. We saw him excel in a very kind of West Coast, dink and dunk, short passing game offense with Oregon and Dan Lanning. Bo Nix could, I think Sean Payton sees him as his next Drew Brees. He's hoping for that. And the fact that he's starting this game tonight and he's going to get the most reps with the starters. Sean, we said it last week. It feels like Sean Payton was dying to give the starting job to Bo Nix. And if he performs reasonably well tonight, I think you get that announcement by the end of next week that Bo Nix is QB1. He'll be starting week 1 for the Broncos.
And I got burned last week when the Broncos and Colts were playing following our show on Sunday, and I was all over the under. It was a D-Gen bet I gave you, and that under was basically washed in the blink of an eye, thanks to obviously Bo Nix and the Broncos offense and, of course, what the Colts were doing in that game as well. Patty, in the start of the show, kind of gave you his algorithm on betting the unders in these preseason games. I'm going to warn you right now when it comes to the Denver Broncos today, I'm staying the hell away from the number. I don't know what's going to go on. They got me all turned upside down. I could already tell Denver's trending in that team. We all have that team every year, whether it's betting for or betting against, where after I throw your hands up and go, I am done placing any wager on a game involving this team. The Chargers had that run for me for like years. Whether it was Phillip Rivers and then Justin Herbert, I couldn't do Charger games anymore. Knockout pools, regular bet sides, totals. I feel like I'm already setting the ground that the Sean Payton, Bo Nix Broncos are going to be that team for me where I'm just staying the hell away.
That's funny. That's funny. I like that. Yeah. And of course, too, you didn't even mention Anthony Lynn or Brandon Staley, coaches that could lose, the ultimate losing games from the jaws of defeat. Nobody did it better than those guys. So I agree with you. I will say, yes, I will be live betting this under for sure. Most of the Packers starters are not going to play. We know that a lot of the Broncos starters are going to play for at least a quarter. I would say wait to see at halftime. If you get a live total of like 43, 44 and a half, God forbid even over that, more than that, I'm firing on the live under once Bo Nix and those starters come out, because the Broncos are essentially treating this as their walkthrough here. Like this is their last shot to give everything. And Sean Payton's going to be calling plays that he hopes Bo Nix can execute come the regular season. I think it's a lock. I think Bo Nix is the Broncos starter. Sorry, Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson's going to rot on that bench.
We got you paid if you followed our bets in Dingbat last week. Let's see if we could replicate some of that with your best home run prop plays of the day. It's Sean Morash, it's Pat Boyle, Kenny Gunnar Henderson going to throw the money out there as well. It's BetQL's 5-Star Weekend presented by BetMGM.
BetQL 5-Star Weekend will be back on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM. Welcome back to BetQL 5-Star Weekend on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
I was just joking with Pat last night. I got to go to Zach Brown Band, Kenny Chesney, Sun Goes Down tour, MetLife Stadium. Great show. Great show. But, and I'm sure if you guys, you dads out there can relate. I had my brother-in-law, my buddy, my parents were there too. When you get a day when you have two young kids, okay, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, love them to death. My wife did not want to go to the show. Those days where your wife and kids are like not in the picture for a day and you have like a full day. I'm talking about a tailgate, a concert. You're not getting home until 1 a.m. Those days often get treated like you're in Aruba for a week, right? Like you're just seizing, like it's a vacation I'm going to make the most out of. So I was having some adult beverages yesterday, enjoying it. Just like the vibes were immaculate. But I did the thing that you shouldn't do and you learn the lesson about when you're like 21, 22, sometimes younger, which is don't mix. Don't mix. Did a couple shots in the parking lot, had some beers, and then for some reason had a chugging contest with a frozen daiquiri. I finished that frozen daiquiri chugging contest, and I did something that I've never done in my life, and I'm ashamed to say this at 37 years old. I yacked in a professional sports stadium. Yes, I did. Last night between acts, I chugged that daiquiri. I had a little burning in the throat. You know when like you drink something a little too quick that you probably shouldn't be drinking anyway, and you get like that throat burn?
Oh, yeah.
I went to cough as a result, and as I coughed, it wasn't like peas and carrots, you know what I mean? Like you have a stomach flu. It was just more like a bad regurgitation. Whew. All over my shoes. All over my shoes. Thankfully, it didn't stink. It was just basically alcohol that came back up. But just a pathetic, embarrassing display that at 37 years old, I yacked in MetLife Stadium last night. And I've seen some bad football games that should have made me throw up in that stadium before. But
Not
that's
Kenny
where we
Chesney.
are, Pat. Not Kenny Chesney. No, that was a great show last night. In fact, that arguably was the best thing to happen in MetLife Stadium since the 2011 wildcard game between the Giants and Falcons. So, yep. Look, I'm just going to raise my hand up. My bad. And I'm feeling a little bit today. Pat, you have a yak in a stadium?
Have I yacked in a stadium? I don't think I have. I've yacked outside of a stadium. I yacked outside of Yankee Stadium one time and just kept it pushing, and I was severely intoxicated. And my friends were like, why don't we just keep you moving down the street here, pal? So outside of a stadium, yes. Not inside the confines of one. But you and I both had an eventful weekend. I was telling you in the break Friday night, knocked a couple back and actually ended up making out with a girl that we exchanged names and numbers afterwards. Same last name. She's a Boyle.
That's great. That's great.
What are the chances? What are the chances of that?
We both know somebody personally, Pat, that this has happened to and they married that person. Do you know that?
No, I don't.
So the rest of the audience nationally is not going to give a damn about this person, but I'll just tell you, he's worked in the business for a long time. His name is Peter Schwartz. Peter Schwartz met a lovely...
Schwartz's wife is the same as Schwartz?
And anybody knows Peter Schwartz, man, anything to save a buck too. So he met his lovely wife in school because she sat right behind him in homeroom with the same last name, Schwartz. Her name is Cheryl Schwartz. They ended up reconnecting years later after college. Had a little moment like you probably had with Mrs. Boyle. And the rest is history. They end up marrying each other. They have 2 kids. And as Pete tells the story, the best part is she never had to change her license and pay that $60 to the New York State DMV because the last name remained the same. Imagine that. And that's the beauty of it, right? You never have to have that argument. Am I keeping my last name? I think that's great if you find somebody with the same last name.
That's not the road I want to go down now. Now I'm deleting her number. I'm out. If Schwartz is the other person that married somebody with the same last name, I'm out. I don't want any kind of juju involving that.
I think it's great.
I mean, look. No.
Yeah.
Because now I was when I got home at 1:30 in the morning, I was nervously checking Ancestry.com, 23andMe, trying to figure out if there was any way, without any of her stuff, trying to figure out if there's any way we're related. Because that was the first thing that went through my mind.
Nah,
if we're a long-lost cousin.
So what? You ever watch Game of Thrones?
Can we move on?
Okay, here we go. Let's bring in Kenny Gunder Henderson, and let's play, before I forget, the intro here for Dingbat.
Who will win? Who will lose? Who will look dumb? It's time for Dingbat with Sean Marash and Pat Boyle on the bet.
Kenny's fired
So
up.
here's
He's
the
rubbing his hands together. He's ready to go.
This is great. So we only have a couple more weeks of this. Pat, myself, and Kenny, here's the deal. We each draft 3 players that we're going to bet on today to hit home runs for the audience. We can't double up, can't take somebody else's. And last week we hit it just below a 50% clip, maybe our best week so far. We gave you 9 plays, 4 of them hit home runs, 2 of them by me. And away we go. We start this off with a game of rock, paper, scissors to see who picks first. Let's see what we can do here, gentlemen. Rock, paper, scissors says shoot. Oh, I have paper. The 2 other idiots have scissors. I'm out. I pick third. All right, you two figure it out. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors says shoot. 2 rocks. Rock, paper, scissors says shoot. Oh, Kenny puts out paper.
All right,
Pat
cool.
puts out rock. Kenny will pick
I'm
first.
so happy I get to go first, and I'm probably not going to take any of your guys' pick because I dove deep for this one. I found a guy. He's hitting 333 with a 981 OPS versus left-handed pitching. That guy gets a lefty today, and he is none other than Larry's cousin, Tyler Fitzgerald from the Giants, going up against J.P. Sears.
Okay, so first of all, I love that bet. Second of all, I mean, Kenny, the name of the game, you could have probably saved that for your third pick and would have been all right, but nonetheless, good for you. Tyler Fitzgerald.
I was too excited. I had to give it out. I was too excited.
Listen, we've all been there, and we release quickly when we're excited. Pat, up to you.
I'm going to go with a guy that is probably going to be a popular pick today, so I'm going to go ahead and not waste any time. Give me Bobby Witt Jr., the guy that is in the running, I guess you could say it, for the American League MVP. Judge is going to win it unless he steps on a nail and breaks his foot today. Bobby Witt going up against the lefty from Cincinnati, Andrew Abbott, who has, he's been okay, but he's given up 24 bombs this year, and Witt is just on an absolute tear, and he mashes lefties. So Bobby Witt to go deep, that is plus 240. And now that I'm actually looking at it here, I was looking for the splits before, and then we were coming back from break. Bobby Witt's only got 3 home runs against lefties this year. Obviously a smaller sample size, 86 at-bats. Right. But not the same kind of power prevalence against right-handers. So, but I mean, he does mash lefties, and I think Bobby Witt leaves the yard today. So the Royals star Bobby Witt plus 240.
It's a great pick, and Andrew Abbott's given up 6 homers in his last 4 starts. So I mean, it totally aligns. I don't care that Pat picked it. I'm still going to bet it personally. He's going to hit a home run today. I'm going to just do the chalky thing, the layup thing. There's a game in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Little leaguers get to watch tonight, and they get to see Aaron Judge playing it. I know that he's facing Tyreek Skubal, but there's still going to be bullpen. In fact, at that point, it's the old lay it off the glass with Aaron Judge. He's going to have a moment for those kids in Williamsport, Pennsylvania tonight. Give me Aaron Judge.
Tyreek Skubal, cousin of Tyreek Hill.
What did I call him?
Is it Tyreek? Is it Tariq or Tarek? I think everyone calls him Tarek, right? Tarek Skubal. Yeah.
Okay. So what? I had it wrong.
It's all right.
Who cares?
It's all right. Judge is homering, so it's fine. That's all that matters. All right.
Exactly.
All right. So today I woke up this morning and, nice day here in Chicago. It hasn't really been a nice weekend, but we got a nice morning in Chicago. We got the Cubs playing at Wrigley Field. So I'm going to go to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. against Shota Imanaga. He's going to serve him up one of those fastballs. Vlad does very good against left-handed pitching, so I'm going to take Vladimir Guerrero Jr. today.
I like it, Kenny. Patty to you.
Yeah, I'm going to Houston. Kai Busch, the rookie for the White Sox, who are the most pathetic team in baseball, hasn't given up a home run yet in 8 2/3 innings, but he's got a 5.19 ERA. And, what better person to serve up a mistake to than to Yordan Alvarez here? So give me Yordan plus 300. I think he leaves the ballpark today. And I'm just looking up Alvarez here. Has not gone deep this weekend. So one would say he's due. And I don't think Alvarez has hit a home run in a couple games here. Yeah, he hit 3 in a 2-game span against Boston. Hasn't hit one in 5 days. So a nice little Sunday afternoon against the worst team in baseball. Go ahead and serve up a mistake to Yordan Alvarez, plus 300. Bang.
All right. I'm going to take a guy who only has 3 homers in the month of August, but he's facing a starter in Brady Singer who gave up 2 homers in his last game. I'm going to get a little nice odds here. Give me Ellie De La Cruz to go deep here, plus 450. Singer's been terrible of late, and Ellie De La Cruz slugs a whopping. How about this? 200 points better against righties this year than he does lefties. So I'm on it. Give me Ellie De La Cruz for pick number 2 for me.
All right, cool. I'm going to go to a fan. He's become a fan favorite, and for good reason. He's hit like 36, 37 bombs this season. That's Anthony Santander from the Orioles. I think we picked him last week, and he came through. One of us did, and he came through. He's 4 of 11. He's 4 of 11 off Cutter Crawford in his career, Carl's brother. So he'll hit one today.
Good theme here. Kenny's going with a lot of brothers here. All right. Relatives. What do you got?
Cousins.
Final pick. Final pick for me. Give me the young star from San Diego, Jackson Merrill, to go deep today. Also, what one could say he's due. He hit 4 home runs in a 4-game span. Hasn't hit one in 5 games since, but he has hit a triple in each of his last 2 games. And again, wind might be blowing in, at least from what I've been checking in Colorado, but it's the thin Denver air, and he's going up against the rookie Bradley Blaylock, who's only made a couple of starts. So give me Jackson Merrill, who's got an 1,100 OPS this month, to continue his tear as he really gives Paul Skeens a run for his money in the NL Rookie of the Year awards market. So Jackson Merrill, plus 350 to go deep.
All right, last but not least, as we close out, I'm taking Jake Berger, cousin of Cheeseburger. Has anybody seen the month he's had? 9 homers, 2 doubles, and he's facing Paul Blackburn of the Mets in this Roku game. He's allowed a homer in 7 of his last 8 starts. Berger. Give me Jake Berger, and that is your dingbat. I think we got some winners, fellas. I smell it on the griddle. I smell it all nice, and we only have 2 more dingbats to get you going from the rest of the year. Isn't that something? Wow. Isn't that something? All right, when we come back, your last hot takes and hot cakes, GTFO, and oh yeah, and we close out the show with some big bets. We got a big hour left. It's BetQL's 5-Star Weekend presented by BetMGM.
BetQL 5-Star Weekend will be back on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM. with Sean Marash.
I will punch you in your stupid face, and I hate the Knicks. I hate their fans.
And Pat Boyle.
That's probably why I'm not a GM in the NFL, but if I was, I would probably take a huge swing on Michael Penix.
Turning your faith into fortune.
Few things in the gambling world I can't wait to bet more than the Jets under right now.
While serving up hot cakes and hot takes.
If Chet Holmgren was on that team, he's probably putting up better numbers than Wemby.
It's BetQL 5-Star Weekend, presented by BetMGM.
BetMGM's 5-Star Weekend on BetQL, or however you want to phrase it. Final hour to play with. We did a ton of college football in the first hour of the show. Gave you our home run prop bets in the last hour. I've argued about Sam Darnold and whether he's relevant or not to the Vikings' success. It's been me and Patty just boxing it up here today. Boxing it up. Box lunch. We are 20 minutes away from GTFO, or Oh Yeah. If Amir's finally put together some topics for us to discuss, we will see on that. We will have a Sunday Scary, a Patty's Beef bet, and a D-Gen bet as well. Plus, this is our last show before college football games count, and maybe that's involved with my D-Gen bet as well. All right, Patty, we have one more hot take and hot cake to get to. You going to be ready to do this damn thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do it.
Good morning, people. Boy, do I need some hot takes and hot cakes. Pat Boyle and Sean Marash, give it to them.
Let's go. All right. Pat, before I give away mine, do you have a time-sensitive one?
Only time sensitive in the next 25 minutes here.
Okay, so we have time. So, full disclosure, I usually like giving out like a baseball parlay or something like that in a Sunday Scary with a lot of legs attached. My Sunday Scary coming up is going to be so NFL future heavy, it's going to blow your socks off. If you have socks on, be prepared to tighten them because they're going to be blown off. So I'm going to give you here a cake to start hour number 3. And to me, I hate sounding so arrogant and so cocky, but there are just certain days where a couple games align where it becomes very difficult to see. And I know we're talking about sports, anything can happen. You're losing, okay? But how about today? So many favorites in Major League Baseball. You have a lot of haves and have-not series closing out, okay? That's the best way to do it. The haves and the have-nots. Teams that have been hot, teams that have been teams that have been hot, teams that stink. I'm going to 3-leg parlay you up. Keep your socks on if you can. Here we go. I'm taking the Diamondbacks money line at the Rays. Again, Rays have sold off everybody. This Diamondback team continues to trudge on. Nobody even factoring them into the thought process of, oh, yeah, this team could end up back in a World Series again. I'm taking the Diamondbacks on the money line versus the Rays. The White Sox stink, and the Astros are minus 410 favorites on the money line with Framber Valdez on the mound. You heard Patty give you Yordan Alvarez to hit a home run. I'm taking the Astros on the money line. But this is the thing. You can't take the Astros on the money line at minus 410, and then something goes awry. You got to pair it with stuff, right? So I'm pairing it with the Diamondbacks on the money line. And then last but not least, along with Arizona, this ungodly tear the Padres have essentially been on. They're at the Rockies today. I'm going to take the Padres on the money line. Diamondbacks, Padres, Astros. You put those 3 big favorites together, and you get a plus 249 3-leg parlay. That's what I'm caking you with. 3 baseball favorites with teams making a charge into the postseason versus 3 teams the furthest thing from the postseason. That is my hot cake to start hour number 3, Pat.
How about that? You go, Shawnee. You put together a little baseball guy there. All right, little baseball guy. Sipping your little refresher that you got there. I got a bet as well, and I'm a big Man City fan.
I run on Duncan.
Nice. Love that. So do I.
Dude.
So do I. Although I might be getting some Starbucks this morning. My roommate just texted. My morning was just made by my roommate, Mr. Greggy boy. Just shot me a text. He goes, "Do you want a breakfast sandwich?" I said, "Yes," in all caps. He goes, "You want Starbucks too?" Double yes in all caps. So as soon as the show ends, that's what I got waiting for me. But I also got my favorite soccer team waiting for me here in less than 30 minutes. Manchester City, reigning champions, yet again, looking to win the Premier League. And the first weekend of soccer here, first weekend of the Premier League. Great game coming up in less than 30 minutes from now. Man City versus Chelsea. And I'm looking, I'm like, you know what? First week of the season, I don't want to just blindly bet my team. And by the way, the Premier League is kind of, this is like sports in general. They're like kind of treating the first weekend of the season kind of like how the NFL treats it now, where it's just kind of like a glorified tune-up, right? Because there's no
Okay.
preseason that really matters anymore. You see a bunch of teams out of rhythm. And Man City, in a summer where we had the European Championships, we had the Copa America, and then they play preseason games. You basically had no offseason. So a couple of Man City stars aren't even starting in this game, let alone playing. Two of their guys, especially the most important one, Rodri, their midfielder, who, by the way, like hasn't lost a game in like almost 2 years now, hasn't lost a game in regulation when he's on the field. Their star Phil Foden starting this game on the bench. Same with one of their best defenders, Kyle Walker. So I was like, you know what? Why they don't really care about treating this first game of the year as if it really matters all that much. So why should I? So I'm looking for different ways to kind of bet this game. And I found something on BetMGM, nice little special. If you go to soccer and you go to Man City, Chelsea, you tap on players, you scroll down. BetMGM's got a nice little special kind of bet here. Shots on target. Cole Palmer and Kevin De Bruyne, both to have a shot on target each, plus 150. I'm locked in. That's why I like it. Cole Palmer, who is Chelsea's leading goal scorer, former Man City player. They sold him off. Probably the wrong decision. Guy looks phenomenal. Now he's playing his former team here. I think at the least he gets a shot on target. And then Kevin De Bruyne, again, with a couple of Man City stars either not playing or on the bench, I think Kevin De Bruyne, who's one of the best midfielders in the world, steps up, puts a shot on target today. So that's a little BetMGM thing that I saw here. You go to BetMGM and you go to players, shots on target. I'm in on this one. Plus 150 for Cole Palmer and De Bruyne, both to have a shot on target. I think you can count on Cole Palmer doing it. He had 46 shots on target last year. He's one of their most prolific goal scorers, so he's going to have a chance to put one in the back of the net. It comes down to De Bruyne. And like I said, with Man City, a couple of their stars starting the game on the bench or not playing, I think he feels the need to step up. A guy that's normally assisting, I think he's going to have a chance to put one on target, and I think he will. So plus 150, I'm in.
I love that because yesterday I'm on a tailgate bus out of Long Island to New Jersey to MetLife Stadium. My brother-in-law's on there, big soccer guy. And he was talking about our show. He's a viewer. Dennis watches our show every single Sunday. He's a big Pat Boyle fan, to be honest with you, which is, stunning as it may seem. And he goes,
it's not.
This is what he says to me. He goes, you ready to fire up? We're going to give a little Premier League bets tomorrow. The season starts. I had no idea. Obviously, I had no idea the season starts, right?
Dennis.
I go, the Premier League starting again already? Didn't the season just end? I mean, what's going? Because the Premier League goes on forever. And his quote to me, and it rocked me to my core, was, honestly, it doesn't even matter. I know Pat's got it covered. So I said, oh, you're that confident that Pat Boyle knows. And then here you are in hour number 3 giving away a cake on the Premier League. He was right. He was right. I wasn't going to say a thing. I wanted to see if you mentioned it just so I could see if maybe I could be sort of right, or me right is the wrong word. Him wrong, that you would acknowledge it. And here you are. Here you are, all in for Chelsea.
How about that? I will say, if you are a big, and shout out to Dennis, and I will say, if you are a big soccer fan, again, I kind of just laid it out for you. You got to be careful. Especially not even just this week. It's going to be like the first 2-3 weeks of the season while the transfer window is still open, like the trade deadline for soccer. You can still make moves up until September 1st. I would be very careful. I would say minimal in terms of your bet size. Keep it low. Keep things low, and don't be going heavy here on the first couple of games of the season. If you're excited that soccer's back, just wait a little bit until teams kind of get in the flow of the season.
Okay, so that's fine. I have to say something that I understand is going to come across as sexist, but I think it needs to be said. Okay, that's the way I'm going to set you up with this one. Okay, Pat?
That's a good pregame there.
All right. So Friday, I had the privilege of doing a show with WFAN at Fanatics Fest, the first ever one-of-a-kind immersive fan experience. It's basically Comic-Con for sports, and I really think Fanatics did a really good job. Obviously, things weren't going to be perfect. It's the first time that they've done something like this. So basically, if you're listening throughout the country and you're wondering what this is about, in New York City, it's Michael Rubin, that's his name, the Fanatics guy. He basically organized every professional league and then also UFC and WWE to basically have like an entire immersive setup with things you could do. Basically, picture going to an amusement park for sports. You could do a little bit of something with every sport. You wait online, you kind of take your turns. It was an entry price in. On top of that, you could pay extra money, and in some cases a lot of money, to meet and greet athletes, autographs, pictures. Now, that has been met with backlash, with some going, oh, how much money? But look, you got to pay these people for their time. There's a lot of athletes and stuff that simply wouldn't have showed up without getting paid. So I'm not going to kill fanatics for that. And some, clearly, people paid and ponied up to have their kids meet Jalen Brunson or Jay-Z or insert, whoever here. But you still got plenty you could do with your $50, whatever it was, to walk in the door. I'm telling you, I walked the floor of this thing. It was amazing. But I saw something yesterday that, if I was not in sports radio and if I was a paying customer, I would have been a little annoyed at, although it was fun. So this is my conundrum, Pat. Livy Dunn walked in the building at Fanatics Fest yesterday, okay? Livy Dunn, let's be honest, a lot of people love Livy Dunn because she's an attractive woman, okay? And she was a great gymnast at LSU, and she's, of course, the girlfriend of Paul Skeens, the phenom pitching prospect for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, the only reason I have an issue with this is I saw and talked to several people who spent an unbelievable amount of money to meet several athletes and get that picture and get that time to meet them and have them sign the autograph, right? Livy Dunn was doing this yesterday on Saturday. Okay. She yesterday walked into Fanatics Fest dressed as boyfriend Paul Skeens, full Pittsburgh Pirates uniform, full mustache. She went over to the Major League Baseball setup and she threw out a pitch and she was imitating Paul Skeens. I think that's very fun. I think that's cool of her. I think that was something people got a kick out of, something laughed at. Now, if you look at just that, you go, that's a great job by her. I'm looking at the other side of this. Could you imagine being the dude, creepy or not, that spent money to take a picture with Livy Dunn, to maybe have Livy Dunn sign something? You wait online for 2 hours. Some people waiting online despite the fact that you paid for 2 hours to meet some of these athletes and celebrities. Imagine spending whatever it is, $500 for that chance to meet Livy Dunn, and you walk up there, and Livy Dunn is dressed like her boyfriend with a fake mustache. Again, I know this sounds creepy. I know, but let's be real. Pat, let's be real. I wouldn't do this, but there are some people that did this going, I get a chance to even take a picture with Livy Dunn, this very attractive young woman, and how pathetic it must have been for that to be a big moment for you, but people were going to do this. And you wait online for 2 hours, and this woman is wearing a fake mustache and a Pirates uniform head to toe, and she's not looking like the Livy Dunn you've seen on the internet. Your one chance to meet her? Pat, stop me if I'm wrong.
It's definitely disappointing. I think you would want her to be looking how you normally see her on social media, on her Instagram, on commercials. She's got that Valori commercial. Yeah. To then see her basically dressed up as her boyfriend, probably a little disappointing.
I would say, and I only say that because people spent money to meet the Livy Dunn that they know. The Livy Dunn
Exactly.
and let's be honest about Livy Dunn. I don't think I'm being offensive here. Livy Dunn knows what she's doing on the internet and everything else. She plays to her strengths. Let's just call it like it is. So if you got to play to those strengths and you want the follow, Livy Dunn doesn't have damn near 1 million Instagram followers because she does a good, crowbar move on the horseshoe thing that the gymnasts do, or she does a good mat routine. Okay,
I don't think you got any of those, but that's good.
Whatever. She has all those followers, and she knows she does because she leans into the fact that she's an attractive woman. So finally, those fans that have been following you forever get a chance to meet you, and you put on the fake mustache and baseball uniform. Sorry, people are gonna walk away disappointed.
Everybody was lined up for some Sean Marash pictures, and then you dressed up like Pat Boyle. You probably actually would get even more people to come to you, but you get my point.
And there it is, folks. Pat Boyle makes something about himself. 11:14 a.m. Eastern time here on BetQL's 5-Star Weekend. So I just had to get that off my chest because she's being applauded, and I thought it was funny. But having been in the building Friday, knowing how much money people spent on stuff like this, I got to speak up for the creepy man that did this. The creepy man that waited 2 hours to meet Livy Dunn and paid, an ungodly amount to her, only to basically take a picture with her with a fake mustache on. And that's
I'm glad you're championing those folks today.
I'm a creepy man advocate. That's exactly what I am. I'm a man of the people. That's absolutely who I am. All right. When we come back, we're going to have a GTFO or oh yeah for the ages because I haven't looked ahead. 2 hours ago, there wasn't a single statement written on there. I want to see if Amir came to play, our producer of this fine program. If he did, me and Patty are going to debate because some people refuse to debate in this country. We will not. Plus, after that, we have some great bets coming up with a Sunday Scary NFL style, with a Degeneration Bets college football style. And Pat's going to make up some kind of beef with somebody and give you a bet to follow out a bit he didn't think through back in February. It's BetQL's 5-star weekend presented by BetMGM. I'm Sean Morash. He's Pat Boyle. More when we return next.
BetQL 5-Star Weekend will be back on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM. Welcome back to BetQL 5-Star Weekend on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
It's BetQL's 5-Star Weekend presented by BetMGM. So we want to be transparent with the audience. We do Dingbat every single day at around every single Sunday to 10:40 a.m. Eastern, where myself, Pat, and Kenny Gunter Henderson give you 3 home run plays. This is how good a show we are. We give out the bets, and if there's a lineup alteration, this is the first time all year we've had to worry about this. Kenny gave you Anthony Santander, who has been obviously on a tear all year long as a home run play. Guess what? Not playing today. So, Kenny, you're going to have to fill that void, baby. What do you got?
Let's do it. And we're going to stay with the family theme. And we're going to go with Jackson Holiday. Same team. We're going to go with Jackson Holiday. He's actually Matt's son.
Related to Janet Jackson?
You can go there, too.
Well, the last name's Holiday.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was gonna say I was gonna pay some respect because it's his real father, Matt Holiday. Hit a lot of homers. You kind of look like Matt Holiday, Sean.
Thank you. I take that as a
You think
compliment.
that's a compliment? Oh, okay.
That's the best compliment that he maybe has ever gotten.
Well,
My
there you
wife
go.
told me I look like one ass cheek the other day. I mean, please, I will take looking like Matt Holiday.
All right.
There we go.
I
Amir
told
with a
Mario
good one. Drew Holiday's stepson.
I told Mario he looks like Matthew McConaughey the other day, and he won't shut up about it. So
Oh, you know that kid doesn't need any kind of ego boost.
Who?
well,
Yeah,
Mario,
exactly. Who?
the former EP.
Who? I don't know who you're talking about.
All right,
All right.
we'll roll with that.
We got all right. So Jackson Holiday pick number 3.
Perfect.
Here
Cool.
we go. Oh, Mario, our old producer.
Are you serious?
Huh?
What is happening?
What do you mean? What is happening?
I thought you were joking. You really didn't know who he was talking about?
I forgot. Dude, I'm 13 hours removed from yakking on my shoes at MetLife Stadium. Can we give me a break here? All right. Now, actually 14 hours. It was around 9:30. Okay,
All right,
here we
hold
go.
on. Since we're off the rails here, because I wanted to get into this, and we're gonna run out of time if I try to do it in the last segment. Speaking of yakking and eating things, I have a Venus fly. I'm a plant daddy, by the way. All right, I got a cactus. I got a money tree. I bought a Venus flytrap a couple months ago. I got to be honest, I was a little.
Real.
What do you mean you didn't know those were real? You think those was a movie concoction? That was a fake thing? It was a Hollywood production?
Kind of. It's kind of like a unicorn is not a real animal.
Okay, well, yes, there you go, Sean. That is correct. But no, Venus flytraps are most certainly real. They are carnivorous plants, so they eat animals. They eat flies, insects, bugs. And I got one, and I got to be honest, I was a little underwhelmed with the eating Now, the growing progress, and I'll show you here in a second, the growing progress has been really good. I mean, these puppies are growing. They're looking really good as I try to reach for my windowsill here and get them. But the eating progress was a little underwhelming. They hadn't really eaten much since I got them. One closed its trap the other day, and I'm trying to look, and you usually can kind of see like the little outline maybe of the bug or whatever it has eaten, and I can't see anything. So I think maybe it kind of closed its trap on accident. Yesterday, all of a sudden, and we've been keeping our windows closed here throughout the summer and just pumping the AC. So there hasn't really been a chance for things to fly in, and we got screens on the windows anyway. So I was like, you know what? I think I just got to go to the pet store soon here and just start buying some fried dried crickets or I forget the other thing, freeze dried worms you can feed them. And I was like, you know what? These puppies are going to start starving. I got to start feeding them. All of a sudden yesterday, I hear something buzzing past my ear, and I'm like, uh-oh, what do we got cooking here? It turns out it was a moth, and this thing was annoying. It kept flying by me. I'm trying to watch a movie late last night.
Boy.
So finally, we didn't even have a fly swatter. I took a little spatula with the rubber coating on it, and I'm waiting. I'm lurking. This moth decided to make a nice little pit stop right on the wall next to me, on the window next to me, and like an assassin, I just swiped this thing, knocked it dead, gone. I'm getting ready to feed. I'm like, it's feeding time, baby. Finally, I'm going to see my fly traps in action. And then, I remember reading up on what I should feed him. You're not supposed to put anything that's like more than 30% the size of the trap into it. Otherwise, you can kill it because it takes so much energy to break down the insect or the bug, whatever it eats. And you can end up killing a trap or multiple traps if it has to exhaust all of its energy into breaking down what it just ate. So Patty the surgeon, take a little scissor, put out a little paper towel, put some tongs, put the moth on a paper towel, snipped it in half, put it in the trap, and they got the little trigger hairs. It's like a chemical reaction, and it set off. It's like a timer, like a 2-second timer. You put it on the trigger hair, bang, thing closed up right on the moth. Looked beautiful. So I finally had some feeding time. Here's how the fly traps are looking. Check out these puppies here.
Interesting. Okay, so those are 3 different mouths there. 4 different mouths. They're closed up right now.
5. I got like 5 or 6 of them. It's a Shogun fly trap here.
Okay, so if you put your finger in there, it would not eat your finger because it's not big enough.
Well, no, and it's also not strong enough. Like we are human beings. I can just easily pull it out of the trap. But like a little moth, and especially a dead one. I mean, even like I would love to see it eat a live insect one time. But yes, I dropped half of the dead moth's head into the trap, and that thing just gobbled it right up here. So you can see one is closed, which I think this one might be on accident. This is the one that has the moth in it. You can see the outline of the dead moth inside of it. And I'm in love. I'm in love with this plant, dude.
If you were to ask me, do you think Venus flytraps are real? I would have definitely said no. I just assumed that was like a creation of books. But how about that? Good for you. Plant guy with your weird glasses. Yeah, you won't be on an episode of Dateline anytime soon. All right, here we go. Something funny?
All right, what do we got?
All right, let's go. Let's play some GTFO and oh yeah.
It's now time for GTFO or oh yeah.
All right, you know the name of the game, GTFO or oh yeah. Basically, get out of here or yeah, I could definitely see this happen. Let's start. We got some NFL ones to start. The Giants will bench Daniel Jones for poor performance this season. GTFO or oh yeah, Pat Boyle.
I'm going to say, oh, yeah, and not necessarily poor performance like week 6, like the Giants season's already lost and he's getting benched. But, Sean, I know you know there's an out in the contract after this year for Daniel Jones. And unless you think the Giants are a playoff team or battling to be a playoff team by the end of the year, the Giants are not going to have Daniel Jones play and get hurt, and then they have to guarantee his money because of an injury, much like we saw the Raiders do with Derek Carr. We've seen it also in years past as well. So I do think the Giants are probably going into, let's say, week 15, and at that point they've played 13 games. I could see them being 5-8 or 4-9 and saying, you know what, let's cut our losses here. There's no point in playing Daniel Jones. We're going to bench him. Tommy DeVito is going to finish out the season, and then we're going to cut Daniel Jones at the end of the year, and we finally get a resolution on Daniel Jones. So I will say in that sense, oh, yes, he will. Oh, yeah, he will be benched.
Okay, so I agree with you, but I kind of feel like that wasn't the nature of the question. Like, I do think he's just going to get benched for the injury clause at the end of the year when they fall out of it. I don't think, and this is where I think the Daniel Jones, haters and truthers don't find middle ground. Daniel Jones is not going to get benched for poor performance for 2 reasons. Number one, he's just not going to be terrible enough where you're like, oh my God, this guy's an unplayable nightmare that he can't play the position of quarterback. He's benched. He'll get benched for exactly what Pat said. He's not going to be good enough or great enough, and you don't want to risk the injury. But we've gone too far in the idea of like Daniel Jones isn't like the worst quarterback in football here. It's not nearly going to be a top 10 quarterback. And yesterday he had an inexplicable pick 6. Outside of that, he threw an absolute BB 50 yards down the field, which is the one thing the Giants weren't doing, that he landed with Darius Slayton. He had a couple good throws to neighbors. He actually had, everybody's got focused on the bad, more good than bad yesterday. But poor performance, no. But for the injury clause, yes. GTFO or oh yeah, Justin Fields will finish as a top 3 vote getter for comeback player of the year. Do you have a strong lean on this? Because I'm trying to think of the guys that would be in there. Ironically,
well, I'm trying to. The NFL has changed the criteria. So it's to emphasize injury or illness. And that is after Joe Flacco wins comeback player of the year, where everybody thought it should have been DeMar Hamlin, even though the play on the field, DeMar Hamlin basically getting a healthy scratch half the games this year. Joe Flacco, I think, deserved it. But now the NFL has clarified the criteria. So it's people that are coming back from injury and illness. So like betting Justin Fields to win comeback player of the Nick Chubb is a great one. Justin Fields not coming back from an injury. He's just coming back from basically the Bears kicking him to the curb. So I don't think there's a chance he can win this award. So I'm going to say GTFO. Yeah. He will not be a top 3 vote getter because he's not going to be in the criteria.
Okay, so GTFO as well. I would have to really think long and hard about who else is coming back from injury. Nick Chubb's just the one that pops. I say half kidding, but you never know. Daniel Jones, another guy, missed most of last year. Is there other quarterbacks? Watson, I guess, could be on there. I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks that missed substantial time that could pop on that list. But yeah, I'm having a tough time coming up with them. All right. By the way, I guess it wasn't an injury. I was going to say, can Zeke have a big year at Dallas at running back? All right. Michael Penix will start more games than Kirk Cousins.
Oh, you know what? You know who's
what?
Hold on. Sorry, really quickly. You know who's probably going to win the award?
Who?
Joe Burrow.
Oh, yeah. That's a perfect one. Quarterback, you're right.
That's got to be the quote unquote lock in terms of this awards, this market. If Joe Burrow gets the Bengals in the playoffs, he's going to win it.
So it's so funny that Justin Fields is the one we're given here. And in reality, I could see a world where the top 3 are players in that division, and they're not Justin Fields. It could be Burrow, it could be Chubb, it could be Watson.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, okay. Shawnee, you are spot on.
GTFO, and Michael Penix will start more games than Kirk Cousins. I'm just going to get this out of the way. GTFO. I do think Penix is going to be the long-term answer. But the Falcons organization, as much as they're, they made the great moves this week, whether it was Simmons or Judon and this, that, and the other, it kind of feels like they really want to give this a one true give-it-all year in a wide-open NFC with Kirk Cousins and obviously the new head coach and everything they have offensively. I don't think you go out last minute and add Judon and Simmons just to turn around and start a rookie quarterback this year, knowing how difficult it really is for a rookie quarterback to win a playoff game. First of all, Stroud did last year, first one since Russell Wilson did it many years ago. That is so hard to do that I think that they just want to see what they got. 1 year Kirk Cousins, how good can we be in this NFC?
Yeah, I agree. And as much as I do think that Michael Penix can usurp Kirk Cousins at some point this year, I mean, it's tough to answer this question or make really any predictions by saying, I think this guy's going to get hurt. So that's how I'm going to bet. So if Kirk Cousins does get hurt again coming off the torn Achilles, then yes, this is going to be true. But I think the way that this question should be answered and outlined is in terms of performance. And I don't necessarily think that Kirk Cousins is going to be benched because of poor performance within the first 8 weeks of the year. So I'm going to say GTFO. Michael Penix, the only way he's starting more games than Kirk Cousins is if Cousins gets hurt.
Okay. Caleb Williams will throw for more than 23 touchdowns. That's what C.J. Stroud did last year. More than 23 touchdowns thrown for Caleb Williams. By the way, that's all C.J. Stroud threw last year was 23 touchdowns.
Right? That seems like it's such a low number.
How? They just run the ball in at their offense was cooking. How weird is that?
I'm looking back at his game logs here.
They scored points.
Yeah, so he had a couple of games where he didn't throw a touchdown.
Oh, and he was hurt. He got hurt.
And he got hurt for 2 games. He got hurt against the Jets and missed 2 games.
Yeah,
so you have to assume Yeah, and he didn't throw one the first week against Baltimore. Didn't throw a touchdown against Carolina somehow. That was that sloppy game, right? Remember that one?
Yeah, I'm going to say GTFO. You're going to have bad weather at the end of the year in Chicago. I don't trust the offense as a whole anyway, even though he has the 3 wide receivers. As far as I don't think the Bears are just going to be running amok, scoring a ton of points. As I said, I think he'll have his moments and his big throws. But if that's all C.J. Stroud got to, 23, I don't think you're going over on Caleb in year 1. I'm going to say GTFO.
GTFO as well for me, Shawnee. I don't buy into the hype. I don't think he's going to be that great. I don't think he's going to be that good. And like you said, bad weather in Chicago until they put a dome on that stadium. You're talking about November to December, how tough it becomes to throw the football here. And in a division where there's going to be some pretty good defenses. All right, the Packers defense took a step forward last year. We know the Lions are supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. So I'm going to say GTFO as well.
Just real quickly, because I am interested in this one, a ranked college football team will upset an unranked team in week 1. I'm saying GTFO to this, however, with the caveat of look out for West Virginia versus Penn State in that game. We highlighted at the beginning of the show. It's one of my 5 favorite games. I think they're a live dog. I don't think ultimately they will do it, but I won't be stunned if they do it. So it's a GTFO with an asterisk that I'm looking at that one, Pat Boyle.
Yeah, I'm going to say GTFO because I'm looking at these matchups and there's a bunch of cup. You know what? Actually, I'm going to say, oh, yeah. I think Florida pulls it off and beats Miami. That'll be the one unranked team beating a ranked team.
That's a good one. I'll be on that one. That's a good one. All right, we come back. Our best bets of the day. Can Boyle fake his way through another beef bet? He's got to figure out 3 more ways to do this. We will see. Plus a DGen bet. BetQL's 5-Star Weekend presented by BetMGM.
BetQL 5-Star Weekend will be back on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM. Welcome back to BetQL 5-Star Weekend on the BetQL Network. Presented by BetMGM.
All right, it is BetQL's 5-Star Weekend presented by BetMGM. We're closing out the show strong with our best picks of the day. I'm going to give you an NFL futures parlay as we look ahead to the football season starting. And we have some degeneration bets. And Patty's going to have a beef bet. So why don't we start it off here, Pat, with our degen bets.
I might be a year older. I might be a little grayer. But at the end of the day, I'm still a degenerate.
All right. Degen bets. Only 3 of these left to play. I got killed last week on the under in the Colts and Broncos game. Shame on me with preseason unders. Of course, the one rare one that did not hit. Patty, I'm going to start it off, though. We have a week 0 college football game in your native Ireland, Dublin, Ireland. Georgia Tech and Florida State will play in 6 days on a Saturday. And I'm staring at a Georgia Tech team that year after year struggles to move the football through the air. Year after year is defensive oriented. And like you pointed out with Mike Norvell and Florida State, a lot of guys off this. And then you throw in the leg that is them playing in Ireland, Pat. And you know what all of this smells in a pot? I put it in a big pot. You know what it stinks like? Under 56.5 points. I'm taking an under week 0 game in Dublin, Ireland. That's my degen bet. Even though it's really not that degen, but when you throw everything in the hopper, it is degen. Under 56.5 points. I'm on the under in Florida State, Georgia Tech.
Bang. How about that? Also, by the way, quick update on the tennis bet I gave out before. Arina Sabalenka has just taken the first set. So 1 leg down, 1 leg to go. We need Sinner to beat Zverev. That match is coming up at around 3 Eastern. So there we go. We're halfway to a tennis cash. I got another tennis bet for a degen bet today. The second men's semifinal today. Francis Tiafoe, the American, against the Dane Holger Rune. And I went to BetMGM. I'm looking at, I'm just kind of scouring through what they got available here. And usually when you get deeper into these higher profile tournaments, you usually start to get some ace props. And ace, obviously, it's a serve that the guy doesn't even touch. Holger Rune's ace prop to me is it's way too high. It's at 6.5, and you get plus money on the under. I'm going under 6.5 aces for Rune in this match with Tiafoe later today. I'm looking. He played a 3-setter in his first match, only had 4 aces. Won in straight sets the next match, only 3 aces. Won a 3-setter the next match, only 4 aces. And then he won in straight sets last night, only 1 ace. So I know the court is super quick. It's the fastest court they've played on all year. He's not trying to go for the aces. He's not able to hit them right now. So, again, they're playing this match at night, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, where the court's not super hot. It's a little bit of a calmer, cooler day in Cincinnati, only high 70s, mid 70s. So he hasn't gone over 6.5 yet. And the conditions in terms of when this match is being played, and it's a cooler day than they've seen, I don't see how he gets over 6.5. He hasn't done it yet, especially in a couple of matches that have gone the distance. So plus money on that, Holger Rune under 6.5 aces. You could find that at plus 100, even odds on BetMGM. There you go.
All right, and I have one more degeneration bet for you. Is there anything more degenerate than betting on a game that a bunch of little leaguers will be at? It's a kids' night in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, the Yankees and the Tigers. Stroman, Skubal, and I have a kid, a degenerate gambler, a 4-year-old Taylor Morash here who's going to pick the game. Taylor, who's going to win this game tonight?
Yankee.
All right, there we go. She loves the Yankees tonight. We're giving away 4-year-old bets
starting
here.
them young.
Exactly. She's all on it. All right, I got a big Sunday scary. Let's go. Let's play the music.
The weekend is almost over, but there's still time to place just one more bet. Don't panic. There's still time to win it all back. It's time for the Sunday Scaries.
Oh, yes, it is. So usually I give out a bunch of plays on a Sunday for you with Sunday Scaries and a parlay. But this is too good to be true. I've been chirping about this. I told Boyle, on Monday or Tuesday, I found something here, baby. I found something. I want to give it away. Patty, stop me when I'm wrong. Did I not pump you up? That I had a big play here?
You did.
All right.
You were super juiced.
I'm juiced. Listen to these odds for what I'm going to give you right now. plus 2,200, 554 odds on 6 legs. Okay, Taylor, if you're thirsty, go upstairs and get yourself a drink, okay?
Ginger ale?
Yeah, go for it. All right. Taylor Morash, everybody, going to get herself a ginger ale. Sorry for that, but she did pick the Yankees. 2,200, 554. Boy, they grow so quick. 2,200, 554. That's a crazy, crazy. So I placed this bet. I threw like $5 on this. It's going to win me like whatever it is, 1,400. I'm looking down at it now. All right, here we go. 6 legs. Patrick Mahomes to throw for 4,000 or more yards. Joe Burrow to throw for 30 or more touchdowns. Tua to throw for 30 or more touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown to get 1,250 or more receiving yards. Garrett Wilson with a healthy Aaron Rodgers to get 10 or more receiving touchdowns. And rookie sensation Malik Neighbors, 8 or more receiving touchdowns. If all 6 of those things happen, Shawnee cashes an insane ticket for $5. And stop me when I'm wrong. That's not that crazy if all of those guys stay healthy.
No, it's not. I think I'm tailing that. And you got that all written out here on the
it's on the doc, baby. It's on the doc.
I'm going to take a nice little screenshotty of that one. You bet your bottom dollar I'm in on that there, Shawnee Poo. I love that. I really do. It feels like obviously injuries can disrupt any of these, but if these guys are healthy, like I don't see how it doesn't happen. And again, the last one, Malik Neighbors, 8+ receiving touchdowns.
That's not crazy. 8. I'm not asking for a lot.
It's not. No, it's not. He's looked phenomenal. He's looked absolutely phenomenal. And the Giants haven't had a pass game. And so how long in a number 1 wide receiver? Again, injuries could disrupt any of this, but outside of that, just knowing how good all these guys are and the numbers they have put up on a year-to-year basis, I don't see how that doesn't happen. Manchester City, by the way, goal up 1-0. Great start. Sabalenka won a set. I haven't seen if Cole Palmer or Kevin De Bruyne have gotten a shot on target yet, but I'm pretty sure this goal was scored by none other than Erling Haaland. So there you go. Bang. Manchester City up 1-0.
And by the way, Jordan Alvarez out of the lineup as well, and that was one of your bets.
Yeah, so we do have to pivot. I do have a pivot for you. I'm going to go ahead and go with Jose Altuve. Top of the order. How many times in not only this year, but in years past throughout his career, have we seen Altuve go deep, either to start a game or to start the first inning? So I think he sets the tone for the Astros. That's just a quick pivot for me there. A couple bucks on Jose Altuve as I'm wiping Alvarez's name out of our rundown and adding Jose Altuve. I don't know off the top of my head what the odds are. My guess is plus 400, plus 350, but give me Altuve as the pivot to Jordan Alvarez. All right, time to finish the show. Boyle's beef bet. Marcus Stroman is a turd, and the fact that the Tigers are a slight favorite against the Yankees today, I got beef. I got beef with Marcus Stroman. I got beef with this line. It's Boyle's beef bet.
Pat Boyle's Beef Bet of the Week. I'm angry. I'm ready. I need to bet. It's Pat Boyle's Beef Bet of the Week on the Bet.
Yeah, so Marcus Stroman, after basically not being able to make it out of the 4th or 5th inning for like 3 consecutive starts, says, "Oh, you know what? Can you guys push my start back? I need to. I don't feel. I need to work on some things." Now, manager Aaron Boone of the Yankees said he was the one that made the decision to push Stroman's start back, but I don't buy it. I think Stroman was saying, "Hey, I'm getting shelled every time I step on the mound here, pal. You think you can give me a couple extra days?" So after giving up 5 runs in 3 1/3 against Boston, after giving up 7 runs in 2 2/3 against Toronto, Marcus Stroman gets a couple of days off, right? Because God forbid, the Yankees rotation needed somebody to step up. Stroman, who had an ERA over 6 in his last 10 outings, and the Yankees ERA as a starting rotation has been one of the worst in baseball, also over 6 since the middle of June. And Stroman comes back. He pitches pretty well against the Texas Rangers last Sunday, goes 5 innings, gives up 1 run. Well, I think he is going to return to being a turd tonight when they play the Detroit Tigers. And again, it's Tarek Skubal. It's the likely American League Cy Young Award winner on the bump for the Tigers tonight, and they're only minus 125. I got a problem with that. I got a real problem with that. Skubal, by the way, who has given up 2 runs or less in 7 of his last 8 starts. And the last time he pitched against the Yankees, he went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, and struck out 12. Yankees just got shut out yesterday against Crider Montero, a guy that had an ERA near 6. And the Yankees offense has been slumping the last couple of days here. So Skubal on the mound against the turd Stroman. Give me the Tigers to win the Little League World Series game tonight, -125.
Wow. Going against the Yankees. Taylor, you have any words? You think Pat's going to win his bet?
No.
I agree. Bad beef bet for Pat.
She
Taylor's
learned
on
from
the
her dad. She's learning from her dad. She's a homer.
Are you a homer?
Your dad's teaching you very well, Taylor.
Yeah. And Taylor, are the Giants going to win the Super Bowl? Just say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know. We know. As far as she knows, the Giants are 4-time Super Bowl champions in a row. They've won every year of her life. They've never lost a game because that's the kind of parenting I do in my house. Damn it. All right, this was a really, really fun show. Kenny Gunnar Henderson was great today. I mean, he came to play. He didn't know Anthony Santander wasn't in the lineup, but he still gave you a bet. Amir came to play too. And I could see, he bowed out. We're not doing any more fantasy drafts. He couldn't deal with it. It was a problem. But it's okay. He was still a really good producer today. Zach Kroll was great as well. Boyle, we only have 2 more of these bad boys left. 2 more of these to make some people some money before the NFL season gets in swing and BetQL goes to that programming. I'm fired up. By the time we take our mics on Sunday, will we have positive money in our pockets off of a college football Saturday? I will. Will you?
I agree.
You will too.
Actually, I don't know.
All right.
You talking about after week 0 here on Saturday?
Yeah. After we do. I'm sorry. All hell is broken loose in my home studios. I don't know where my wife is.
Hello.
And my daughter's just making picks now. So I hope you've gotten the best of it. Okay.
Hello.
I think they got the hello part, sweetie. Thank you. Do you want to tell everybody to have a good day? No? You want to tell them have a crappy day? Okay. That's what we're going to do. So from Taylor's words to mine, have a crappy day. Minimal sweats. Enjoy all your bets. Poo-poo day is right. I'm off to Lake George with a family vacation that won't feel like a vacation. Enjoy your Venus flytraps. Enjoy your poo-poo days. I'll see everybody. It's BetQL's 5-Star Weekend.
You've been listening to the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM. If you missed any of the shows, listen back anytime on the new and improved Odyssey app.
Baseball is winning on the BetQL network with Bet for the Cycle featuring Cody Decker
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
and handicapper Rob Brown.
Couldn't hit a baseball off a high school pitcher. That's why I played soccer.
Double play.